TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Well, what a day it's been. What a weekend it has been. I hope you had a great holiday weekend, 4th of July and more. As today we are on the verge of being at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco. Craig Smoak, I'm David Craig, and everybody else that's here, Garrett and Rez and Houston and Andrew, and also Logan will be there for a couple of days with interviews we record throughout the day and also live as we normally are from 3 to 5:30. Craig, we will have some notes. The Big 12 released some awards, at least preseason honors earlier, that we'll start with to get a little fresh air there. But what a weekend it has been as well with the World Cup and the drama and the United States playing tonight in Belgium, which we'll get to some of the details on that in just a moment.
World Cup just continues rolling on along. It's been quite the journey so far. And as we've said a couple times over, still a little bit of a ways to go, although getting down to the nitty gritty. And I saw some really good matches and celebrations and moments over the weekend. Watched quite a bit of that Norway game. And obviously Team USA feeling great today based on the news cycle. I have my own thoughts on that, but glad that they're alive and have a huge opportunity in front of them to try and get into the next round and just continue to make history. Mexico, heartbreak for them, but what an incredible atmosphere for the Mexicans and the English, and a big win for the Lions. And it's a great event, as we've been saying over and over again for the last about a month, I guess now at this point, and it continues to just get even more turned up because of the stakes that get narrower and the prize that gets closer with each passing game. So, there's a great field left. A lot of folks have gone home and a lot of controversies and things, but it's been a hell of a time, and we're on a heck of a run in sports. I came across a tweet. I was deleting some things the other day and emptying out some old bookmarks and whatnot, and came across a tweet from December or something or February that said we were about to go on like the greatest American sports run that you only get every so few many years. And it was the whole going from college football to the NFL to March Madness to College World Series, if you're into that sort of thing, and the draft. And then you had was a World Baseball Classic actually in between that took up most of the earlier part of the year. And then you have now the World Cup. And so it's just been a hell of a run, and this will all lead basically into football season again. So it's been a wild few months for sports fans in a great way.
The United States hockey team, of course, is just unbelievable run. And now you have the U.S. national men's soccer team that's playing tonight in the round of 16 against Belgium. Let's start, though, with this. The Big 12, they don't do a media poll anymore as far as who's picked to win the conference. It just got to the point, and plus the changes, but it just got to a point. I don't know why. I enjoyed it. I wasn't always good at it, but I enjoyed doing the poll. But they do have this, the preseason honors as far as offensive, defensive, and also newcomers of the year. Here is the offensive newcomer of the year, and it's BYU running back L.J. Martin, a phenomenal player.
It's not newcomer of the year.
I said offensive, defensive, and newcomer of the year. Offensive player of the year, L.J. Martin, BYU running back. Sorry to get corrected off the top, but I thought I said offensive. Thanks for correcting me.
I think a logical choice is L.J. Martin, and he is, not a newcomer. Had obviously a very big year last year, and a guy who I think stands to have a huge year this year. And I think, looking around the league, there's a lot of guys who are veterans that left and have moved on. So there's a lot of question marks. I think Noah Fafita would have been a great choice for this award as well. And I'm sure there's a couple of other guys that you could have chosen here. But yeah, LJ Martin, I think a great pick, and expecting massive things from him this season.
And by the way, Fafita was named first-team quarterback, and there's a long list. We're not going to go down that. We'll mention a couple of nuggets with that. But LJ Martin, the preseason offensive player of the year, which leads to the defensive preseason player of the year, and it's defensive lineman A.J. Holmes. Tech lost a lot, of course, the players now in the NFL, and some maybe not, but Holmes is the defensive player of the year in the Big 12, the preseason award winner.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good player, and I know they feel like they're not going to really skip much of a beat defensively this season. So had a handful of sacks a year ago, obviously overshadowed a bit by some of the other talents surrounding him, but he'll be front and center, and a really good player that the Tech has back in the fold. So wasn't surprised by this one, just like I wasn't so surprised by LJ Martin. Yeah, you can say, well, what about a Noah Fafita or someone like that? But yeah, AJ Holmes, a really good talent, and I think Tech's defense is going to be great once again. Just a matter of how different they are and where they are different, and just how good are they compared to a year ago, if not better. I think that's a fascinating question that we can't possibly know until the season starts. But yeah, I think this is a strong choice, and saw Tech celebrating this throughout social media, really promoting all the attention that they're getting because they have a lot of choices and getting a lot of love, being the defending champs and having refilled their roster the way that they did, but also brought back really talented players. So, yeah, a lot of accolades for them this preseason.
4.5 sacks for him last year, ended up with 38 tackles. He also once was at the University of Houston, went to Westfield High School in Spring, which is one of the big dog alpha programs in the state of Texas. And now to the newcomer of the year, and usually that goes to probably a quarterback, and there you have it, former North Texas star quarterback Drew Mestemaker, now the quarterback for Eric Morris and the Cowboys at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, any thoughts on this? I mean, I think Drew Mestemaker's a pretty solid choice, and the number one guy you would think of for certain. He would have been my number one selection in this category, and not having to give it much thought. But then again, there's a lot of new faces thanks to the transfer portal. But yeah, this is the clear choice. All the excitement building around Oklahoma State, and just the type of year that he had last year. Yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Maybe the most sense of any award, actually, of these preseason ones. But interested to see who will give him a running for this one when we see who the actual real newcomer of the year is at the end of the year, just like the other accolades. I think they very well could be the exact same as the preseason picks because they're all solid choices. But yeah, Mestemaker, no doubt, the strong choice for newcomer of the year.
Yeah, he makes sense. Young, obviously, would be one that you'd have to think about too, as North Texas former players and stars that they had. Wyatt Young, the wide receiver, but a quarterback's going to get the edge over that most all of the time. And there he is. So you have at quarterback and the offensive preseason player, LJ Martin. Defensive is AJ Holmes of Tech, the defensive lineman. And the newcomer of the year is Drew Mestemaker, North Texas. And now the Oklahoma State triggerman for Eric Morris. And as I mentioned, the Cowboys. There is the first, second team. I'm happy to see that CJ Fight, a good friend of the show, the young man who we've had on before from Arizona State, is a first-team defensive preseason honor. Good for him. So there we are. That is the day before. Tomorrow we'll be live and recording throughout the morning too, up at the Star in Frisco at Big 12 Media Days. All right, what a day and what a weekend it has been in soccer. And, oh, by the way, we're going to get back to the Big 12 and some of this stuff again at 4 o'clock. And a comment from back in the day from former Tech coach Mike Leach about what he thought. It kind of funny, as always, most everything he ever said about being at media days back in the day. So the United States is playing Belgium tonight. And it looked like Folarin Balogun was not going to play. He is going to play, and that's a story that's been like the last 24 hours or so. There's the graphic. They play tonight. Right now, Spain and Portugal are tied scoreless right now, as that one is late in the first half, as they're having a little bit of extra time in the first half. But this one here, there we go. This one here, Craig, what were your thoughts when you saw the note about Balogun being, I guess, the red card being suspended? And so instead of missing tonight's game with Belgium, he, in fact, is going to play.
Yeah, a bit torn. As an American fan, I'm glad to see it. Having their best player, arguably, back in the mix and available is obviously a great thing, and certainly ups their chances. And I know that it's Team USA now at its best, as opposed to being at what you consider 90% maybe or whatever. So yeah, purely as an American fan, I want to see them with their best players available to play. And so it looked like that wasn't going to be the case, and now it is. So that's great news that he's cleared, and didn't agree with the call at the time. Thought it was definitely controversial, and thought maybe there was a little, I don't know, anti-American action at work. But then again, don't know that to be sure. Just felt like it was a little bit of a bad call, and left it at that because, hey, the call was made and you move forward. And then, yeah, there was a little bit of the chirping over the weekend about maybe people getting involved and making phone calls and politics coming into play. And then sure enough, you wake up today, or was it yesterday when this was announced? Was it officially today that this was announced?
No, yesterday it was officially announced. Then today it went to the appeals process for Belgium, which we'll have a note on that.
Just getting my days confused here. So yeah, when I was out yesterday, it's like, okay, that's great news, but kind of looking into the background of it, it leaves a little bit of a sour feel overall. And I definitely understand the other teams' fans, Belgians in particular, that think this is horse crap, that think that this is just more corruption on the part of FIFA, and certainly politics and the president getting involved, and just ask him, because he's the one that said it, that he got involved and made some phone calls. And so that worked to the extent that politics worked out in America's favor here, and they got their wish, and Balogun gets to play. So you can see we're on the American side. That's awesome. Great job. And we're going to have our best player and have our best team available. But if you're anybody who's not American, you can see where they're calling that out to be just absolute crap and corruption. And they're not wrong. I mean, I don't want to pretend to know the history of soccer and act like this is unprecedented and all of that, because I think there are some examples where something similar or appeals or whatever have occurred. But yeah, just on the surface, it's a great day for American soccer, and it's a kind of headline that'll piss you off if you're a fan of about just any other team, and that's understandable.
Belgium went, they filed an appeal, and they were told they could file an appeal, but that appeal has already been rejected. They appealed the decision that Balogun would be available and eligible, and then that has already been, in fact, thrown out by FIFA, saying that they weren't really a part of this decision because it was between FIFA and the United States player in Balogun. So their appeal to try to still keep Balogun from playing tonight in the round of 16, they have lost that appeal. Now, FIFA President Gianni Infantino did make this comment today when he released a statement. One of the things he said when all of this that went down, first of all, issued a statement about Balogun playing tonight. I regularly discuss matters related to the FIFA World Cup with the President of the United States. And on this matter, I did receive a call from President Trump, just as I received calls from heads of states, government officials, football stakeholders, and business executives from around the world on many different issues. During our conversation, I explained that there was an ongoing legal process involving FIFA's conversation or independent judicial bodies, and the case would be decided in due course by competent bodies. That is how FIFA system works. It's the principle that I've always tried to uphold. So there was his response to the fact that Trump mentioned that he made a phone call. Trump, if you listen to some of it, said he made a phone call, didn't ask them to change it, just had a conversation about the red card that Balogun got and thought it was probably a raw deal that he wasn't playing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Clay Travis had a pretty in-depth, I mean, it sounded like it was a bit more than a phone call. Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, White House Task Force head, Andrew Giuliani, put together a team of elite lawyers from outside the government to challenge the red card specifically the slow motion replay that was used. The president also conveyed to Infantino the appeal had been filed, and he believed the red card was excessive, and their independent committee reviewed the decision and agreed the penalty was incorrectly given. So, the government got involved and got a win for good old Team USA. And FIFA, I mean, any explanation they give over any player from any team, I'm just going to side-eye them because they are totally known for being corrupt, and it's not even a secret. It's like widely held, agreed upon belief across the entire soccer world that FIFA is not like some moral authority. So no surprise that they changed their mind. However, you got around to them doing that. And again, it's great news for Team USA. Totally understand. I'm just not like one of those USA guys where it's like, woo, and then F you to everybody else. Like I'm seeing a lot of that with the Belgians that are upset. And it's like, if the shoe was on the other foot, what the reaction would be. And so I'm just not one of those people that's like, in your face and just arrogant about it. And also I'm not like going to let this taint anything, although I can see, I guess, where some people would be coming from with that. I'm glad for Team USA. Like I said, I don't like the involvement necessarily in any sport at any time under really any circumstance. I just kind of think it's one of those things where maybe it started off corrupt. It was a corrupt decision to begin with, but you let the system play out the way it normally would. But in this case, maybe the home turf helped. I don't know, but whatever it is worked for Team USA. So hopefully they go and win this game, because if not, it's all a whole bunch of stuff for nothing, honestly, if they don't beat Belgium, even with this assist. So all that matters now is they win to make this matter. Obviously history's in the making there for them as well. So a lot of politicking going on, and it worked out for Team USA.
One of the things I did notice, and give me 1 second here, is that I saw a reaction, and I give my timeline, the reaction yesterday with Balogun, and then it was excitement. And then all of a sudden, when you started to see part of the story was President Trump making a phone call, some of those people who were excited, all of a sudden, they didn't like it, because no matter what he does, one way or the other, people are going to choose one way. They love it or they hate it. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and this isn't a political thing, but he could probably save a child in the 10-story building from a fire, jump down, land on his feet, save the child, and there would be some that would say, but that was dangerous. You could have killed the child. And so I get sick of it. I know everybody does. And here's one note about FIFA. Seth Blatter, who's a former FIFA president, who is serving a 12-year ban because of corruption going back to 2015. He criticized the decision by FIFA today, and also yesterday, that Balogun was eligible to play. So he's serving a 12-year ban because of corruption under his leadership at FIFA. As you mentioned, it absolutely has been ridden with that. Graham Scott, this is a graphic I asked for us to put up. He's a former Premier League referee, and this was his quote. As the game's governing body, FIFA is literally a law unto itself, and its latest decision to excuse U.S. striker Valérien Balogun from a suspension is out of line with its most recent precedent. And so there's a quote from a former Premier League referee.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know that I want to get into, like, historically. I don't have the knowledge to pretend to know what's precedent or what's not, or what a good example. I've seen some of that conversation in the soccer world. I don't know if, like, in 1973 there was an example where something like this occurred. All I know is that there's no recent example that I've seen, and that pretty much everybody, regardless of nationality, who's involved in soccer has called this a corrupt decision. Fair enough. Is that fair to say? Like, pretty much everybody that you've seen that's involved in soccer to some extent, that knows what they're talking about, has called this.
Well, I don't know that many yet, but I've seen a lot of people that have used
every
the word
example that we've had up here so far.
I have seen the word corrupt used. I've also seen that this is unprecedented, I think, has also been used quite a bit as well.
Yeah, this is not normal, like, for this to happen. So you can see where people are coming from. And I do think you're right that there's a certain crowd where no matter what the president does, he's the evil guy. I think there's also the flip side of that crowd where If you have anything but good things to say, that you're somehow anti-American, which is bullshit too. So I think you're talking about the extremes on both sides, and I don't live anywhere close to either one of those neighborhoods. So I think it's all a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, this is unprecedented. It benefits Team USA. If they don't win tonight, it just makes them look stupid. Honestly, it just makes it look really terrible to get this gift and then to not even be able to take advantage of it.
Well, I don't know if they can. I don't know if they'll win with Balogun playing or not. But if they don't win with him playing, that's not a good look. Yeah,
it's a terrible look. I mean, yeah. So I think if you do go all this trouble to get this guy able to play, and then you still lose, then what a night that'll be for Belgium. I certainly hope that's not the case. Hope Team USA can take it home, especially now that they've got their full arsenal. But I think I'm just not one of those people that goes, I just want my way, and as long as I get my way, everybody else is wrong, and they're just anti this or they're anti. No, I'm not like that. So I totally see where the Belgians are coming from. I still want Team USA to win. There's definitely some weird stuff that's going on here that's not normal. It's not anything other than just the truth to say that that's the case, as every single documented response that you've shown here has said, yeah, this isn't normal. This never happens. This is a little weird. Okay, so we acknowledge that. That's true. It clearly is. Now, what do the Americans actually do with that? I mean, that's all I ultimately care about in the end, but definitely see the excitement, and rightfully so, to have your best player, and also see the Belgians in particular going, all right, this reeks of favoritism and home field, favoritism or whatever, however you want to explain that. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting story, and one where it's a lightning rod because there is a lot of different opinions on it.
Yeah, there is. And as Trump said, he did make the call, asked for a review, but he made the call to get some information, but did not say you must change this. That's up to FIFA, and you can wink, whatever else you want when it comes to that. What I don't like about it is it's been an incredible run. Whoever's playing tonight, United States, Belgium, or for whoever it was. That game last night, which we'll get to, between Germany and also Germany and Mexico, was phenomenal. College football and a SEC, Pac-12 at night back in the day. And this is kind of put a little bit of a halt to it, but still the numbers are great. And right now, Spain and also Portugal remain still scoreless. That game now early in the second.
Yeah, I think it's from that Clay Travis post I saw earlier. I saw, I don't know if it's from his website or what, that said, I guess there's an analyst that was like, well, if the Americans go on to win the World Cup, it's tainted. And then they proceeded to blast him for being anti-America and all this and that, which I don't know. I didn't read the point. I would assume the point's probably what a lot of people think of, yeah, it's if you're Belgium, if America goes on to win, there's definitely an asterisk for the Belgians, right? And for really probably every other country out there not named America will look at it that way. They all will, because this isn't normal and it's not fair necessarily in their eyes. And so, yeah, for them, there probably will be. I think to acknowledge that's not being anti-American, I think to stick your head in the sand and act like it's not favorable is just, I don't know, it's a weird way to approach things. But yeah, I do think that it's a shame ultimately that, regardless of where you stand on the decision, that if they go on to win the World Cup, it's not going to ruin it for me. I'll celebrate it. But I do think that they put a little stink on this that wasn't necessary, that otherwise has been a great event and it's all worked out well. And now you've intervened and you've created a situation that wasn't there before. There was the controversy over the call, but there's always controversy over calls. There's controversy over things like that all the time. And then you pick up and you move on. You don't necessarily have intervention the way that this has now had intervention. And I think that, yeah, that definitely does. It doesn't put an asterisk on anything. Again, they might not even win tonight. I hope that's not what we're talking about tomorrow. But yeah, there is an element here of, this was all fun and kind of clean and clear. And even if you disagreed with the call, you thought that was BS, okay, that's fine, but that's also soccer. But now it's all right, now we're kind of entering a territory that does make it's a little different than it was.
Ronaldo in a qualifier, but not in a World Cup actual game, had a red card that was overturned back in 2025, but it was not a part of a World Cup itself, which we are in right now. Round of 16, 2 more teams trying to get in. Spain, Portugal, one of those 2 will go on, and so will Belgium or the United States. Speaking of Cristiano Ronaldo, they're playing right now. He confirmed that if they lose tonight or however long they continue to play, he will be done. After 20 years and 6 tournaments, this will be his last World Cup, one of the greatest to ever do it. That's from the Bleacher Report. So there we are with him. He's kind of a controversial figure that some people think he's overrated, but he has been in 20 years, 6 World Cups, including this one.
Well, he's like any other greatest player in the conversation at one point or another. There's people that think you're overrated. There's people that don't like your arrogance or your just personality or whatever, any other number of things about you because you're one of the most famous people in the world over the last 2 decades. So, that's Bleacher Report, by the way, might want to spell check because I don't know who Cristiano Rolando is, but I'm sure AI made that or something. But he's a great all-time player. He's definitely seen better days, and I don't think that he necessarily had maybe like legacy wise he had the choice, but I don't know that Portugal is going to put him on the next World Cup team based on what we've seen so far. So yeah, he's up there in age. His best days are behind him. He still had the penalty kick the other day and nearly had a goal earlier that I saw. So still better than most people, but no, not near the heights of his powers, and certainly about to ride off into the sunset. So this doesn't come as a surprise at all. And again, I don't know that he would even be in contention if he wanted to be for 4 years from now in the next World Cup team.
No, there's another player we'll get to in a moment that's done because of this final last night. England beat Mexico 3-2. Now, I got to tell you, I have a neighbor who's from Ukraine. He lives in the same condo area that I do. He's the nicest guy in the world. He walked down his stairs. I don't see him very often. He walks to H-E-B about 2 to 3 miles to get his groceries down and up a hill. He's old school. He came walking down today to talk about the World Cup and I started reeling off Mbappe and Kane and others, and he was like, my God, you are watching. You do understand it. I am not an aficionado. I have gotten hooked into this one, no doubt about it. And last night's England 3, Mexico 2, and what a wild start to this one. Pouring down rain, crazy atmosphere at Azteca Stadium, and England survives to win it 3-2 to move on to the quarterfinal round.
Are all the English okay after that? That we're in Mexico?
I don't know. Let me put up the one I have next, and we can go backwards. The joke about this is late last night, 10 o'clock. Some poor Englishman, 32 beers deep, singing Wonderwall in Mexico tonight is going to disappear. And I've heard nothing that, I'm not saying there might not have been people I've heard nothing but great response to after the game, as disappointed as the Mexican fan base had to be, but that Jack Mack put that up last night.
I think everybody had a similar thought about, I hope the English fans are okay because the Mexicans are going to be pissed and rowdy. But good to hear that nothing seemingly that I've come across at least has indicated there was anything that went sideways. Which soccer has its history of its hooligans and its fights and its really tragic events. So you just never know. You want to make sure everything's good. And being deep in enemy territory with the stakes as high as they were. And as heated as that was, you just like, hope the English were okay getting back to the hotel room. But sounds like they were. So that was an awesome win and an awesome atmosphere, awesome game. Tough loss for the Mexicans, but a great showing, I think, for them overall. A great time had in front of their home fans for a good stretch and just incredible crowds and support and all that good stuff. So, Mexico did its thing. Great tournament, but obviously really big deal for the English to win that game, and a little bit of doubts about them that I was reading up on and just kind of hearing in the beginning of this tournament. And
sorry,
you all right? What was that?
I just hit the mic.
All right. But great win for the English, and they move on.
Dean Straka, I don't have this up for Rez to put it up. This was one last night. This game, talking about Germany and Mexico, this game is the equivalent of Pac-12 After Dark having a baby with a primetime top 5 matchup in Death Valley and then accidentally hiring Big 12 officials. That's what he put up last night. I thought that was kind of funny. Sometimes you just have to have some kind of sense of humor, and I seem to have one. I get laugh at a lot of different things, even things I disagree with, but that was a way to describe that game. I thought it was good. Did you watch it at all? Much of it?
Watched it.
I know that a lot of you know, it was a banger. That game was like what we call college football bangers, when you have top 5 or 10 or 25 teams playing each other. That one was a banger, and it ended up being a banger as well. Also, Dan Wetzel, Brazil was lost over the weekend. Neymar is going to retire. He's been a part of this World Cup for quite some time. Dan Wetzel put this up. Brazil is soccer mad. Talent-rich country of 219 million people, 7th largest population, has advanced past the quarters just once in 24 years. They have no excuses. It previously had won 5 World Cups. Which college football and basketball program is it?
I don't know. Who did he?
The answers from those who responded.
I mean, the one I just saw a response, and so the first one I thought of too was Indiana basketball, and that's like the first one I saw.
Indiana basketball. There was USC football, but that hasn't been that long. Although that was that run they made in the early 2000s, it hadn't been that almost. Texas football has won the 2005 national title, but the last couple of years they've of course put themselves back in position. Nebraska. The 90s, almost identical. What they were in the 90s was not completely impossible to beat, but they put on an unbelievable show, and they might be a part of that conversation too. So there we are. First time for them in 36 years that they do not reach at least the quarterfinal round.
Yeah, I don't know who is like the perfect comparison. I mean, Oklahoma football too, but I guess it's like how deep in the weeds. Well, they've won a bunch of conference titles, but I mean, not a national title since 2000, despite having played for it multiple times, despite having multiple teams that were in position to perhaps win a title. You couldn't win the playoff games that were in front of you, whatever the format was. And so, I think Oklahoma would be in that category on a 25-year drought with a lot of big moments and Heisman winners and Big 12 titles and big game wins and everything. But no national titles. Texas, a little bit of a similarity there with a lot of success, but not the overwhelmingly top of the mountain success of the national title at the end of the year. So Indiana basketball is another one. Notre Dame hasn't won a title in a really, really long time.
It's
so
88.
I think Notre Dame's maybe the better option to use even over Oklahoma and Texas. I think there's a lot of different comparisons you can make, but Notre Dame's a pretty strong one given how much they do have at their disposal and what they're known as in the big picture of college football and how long that drought now is for them at this point.
One more note on Brazil, and Paxton, God bless him, texted me back and forth quite a bit yesterday.
Oh, Dallas Cowboys was one I saw.
Cowboys has to be a part of it, no question. So this is from Sean Bennett. Brazil is the soccer version of Nebraska football. Their best days are well and truly behind them, but your father and grandfather will always talk about watching them and reminisce about the good old days. # Brazil. It's a great comparison. I can't argue with that. It is, because they were, as I mentioned, unbelievable in the 90s, and they've been just a shell of themselves and for a long, long time. We still have to eventually get to the guy from Norway that has been absolutely phenomenal. Also, the Cape Verde run ended, and the goalkeeper, his Instagram followers has gone nuts, and we'll have a note about that too. All right, so when we come back, James Wessling from Big 12 Radio on TuneIn, he'll join us. We will have Will Parchman, who's a soccer World Cup and FIFA analyst. He'll join us at 4:30 to kind of wrap up whatever. And then Scott Wright, who used to write for the Oklahoma and is now writing and covering Oklahoma State football, will join us today at 5. He's Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching what we do every day. Tomorrow and Wednesday in Frisco at Big 12 Media Days. And this is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, Lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. What does that mean? As you get older, Father Time takes over basically every ounce of our body. And in some cases, that could be that your testosterone level drops. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptoms of that. And those symptoms could be your energy, you're lethargic, you're not the same, something is missing. And then also it could be your sex drive and performance. That's a part of it too. You hear about that all of the time. Dr. Petty can help you out. How? Contact him at pettycliniclowt.com. Tell him I sent you. He will then set you up to get your blood work, take care of that appointment for you, get the blood results, and then know what your T level is and get in touch with you. If your testosterone level is too low, he can give you the option and put you in a program to increase your testosterone level, and you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
The reason that their service is outstanding is because the people they have working, behind the desk and the folks working in the garage, taking care of business. And they give you a date, they give you a time, and they're spot on. And they're professional, they take care of it, and they answer all your questions, and they're fun to work with.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
The Big 12 radio show on TuneIn, it's Ari Temkin and also James Westling. We've had both on, and today we get James back on again on the verge, the eve of Big 12 Media Days. And James, great to have you. We appreciate it. There's so much to discuss and try to weave in and out of a conference. It's really hard to sometimes find out really what is the pecking order. Tech actually did what everyone thought they would do last year, but it's still not with BYU and others involved. In your opinion, is it Tech's conference to lose? Is it Tech against the rest of the field, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, I do think that it's Texas Tech's to lose. And great to be on with you guys. Hope you had a nice holiday weekend. Man, it's weird. We get like that day on Friday, a 3-day weekend, the 4th of July, and then bam, it's right into college football. So could not be more excited for the next 2 days. But to answer your question, yeah, I think just the way that Texas Tech dominated this league a season ago earns them the right to be the preseason favorite. I also think people are underestimating, I should say, just how talented this team is from top to bottom. The quarterback is one position. It's the most important position. I understand that. But it's not the only position. And I think that with Brendan Sorsby, I mean, Joey McGuire just said over the weekend, with Sorsby, we felt like we could win a national championship. So I still think without Brendan Sorsby, this team is dominant enough defensively, deep enough offensively, just about everywhere, including quarterback. Even after Will Hammond, they have 3 guys still on the roster. I think that they're talented and deep enough to still be the preseason favorite in this league. But there's other teams out there that I think can give them a run for their money.
James, I would think that somebody's going to ask Brett Yormark just an in general question about Texas Tech and all that's gone on over the last couple of months. At this point, having moved on from Sorsby, we've kind of done that, but, there's still sort of the underneath part of this. Is there anything you want to hear the commissioner say, or is there anything that you expect him to say in regards to that? Not wanting to dwell on it, but to just kind of like touch on it at the open, and then we all move on to promoting all of these teams.
Yeah, I don't expect him to say much about it. I think there will be a brief statement, and then we'll move on. The team and the guy that has hopefully been practicing his responses is Joey McGuire, and I hate to see that for Texas Tech, because there's so much more than just the Brendan Sorsby saga. There are some tremendous storylines within that program, but Joey McGuire is going to have to answer that question at every single stop. I thought that the commissioner throughout the entire process did a phenomenal job of being very deliberate, very careful, very strategic in kind of his positioning in representing all 16 or the other 15 member institutions in this conference. And I think it'll remain that way. I don't foresee any bold, controversial statement by any means from the commission.
Yeah, and here's what I think, and James and Craig, say something, say whatever it is you need to say, whatever it might be. If there is any kind of you're going to pay the legal fees, or just say it and get it the hell out of the way, and then move on to football. And there'll still be some repercussions or some emotions or feedback, but get it done and move on. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do, because there are still a lot of really, really fascinating questions or talking points that I want to hear how he addresses those topics. Number one, the Protect College Sports Act that is pending in Congress. I mean, we are inching closer to what would be the finish line for that if it does indeed pass. What would it mean for the Big 12, especially with that new kind of $700 million benchmark where they lowered the bar for conference expansion or realignment from $1 billion to $700, which does now include, based off projections, the Big 12. The college football playoff expansion. It's almost like the Sorsby Protect College Sports Act and all these other bullet points have distracted us from the fact that there is a very ongoing, heated discussion surrounding the college football playoff and expansion. And then the scheduling model. The scheduling matrix looks very different this year compared to the last 2 years. Texas Tech and BYU don't play one another. Kansas State has Sporting News ranked them as the easiest schedule in all of the power conference schools. So the schedule looks very different. And back at the spring meetings, Scott Draper, who oversees that department or that area, talked about potentially scheduling a 10th conference game. What would that mean for the league? Does that mean the elimination of a conference championship game? Or is that in addition to a conference championship game, where it could really bolster, I think, the strength of schedule for some teams that have contracts with schools that frankly just aren't very good right now. I mean, Kansas State, for example, is playing Tulane and Washington State, and then an FCS school is their 3 non-conference opponents. Texas Tech and Houston, their power conference opponent is Oregon State this year. If you're eliminating those power conference games, but having a 10th Big 12 game, I do think in the grand scheme, big picture of things, that could actually help some of these teams when it comes to their strength of schedule. So that's a fascinating talking point as well. There's so many that I hope that we're not missing one of those because we're talking about Brendan Sorsby.
James, BYU's been knocking on the door. They're out there on the front porch, hanging around, waiting to get an invite to the playoff. Have been very close. Really good, talented team coming back. And then the Sataki decision with all the Penn State talk just sort of solidified everything heading into 2026. Is this the year you think they can find their way into that playoff? How high are you on BYU right now?
No, man, I'm really high on BYU. I think this is a year with Texas Tech and BYU not playing one another, that there's a really good chance that you could have an undefeated matchup, 2 undefeated teams in Arlington in the Big 12 championship game. Now BYU's got a really tough non-conference game against Notre Dame, but in league play, BYU hasn't lost a game in almost 2 years to anybody not named Texas Tech. Bear Bachmeier's looked really good in the spring. I think he's going to be kind of the poster boy of the Big 12 at the media day events the next 2 days. And then the offensive line at BYU, they've added a transfer who is a multi-year starter at Washington. Their defensive line has just about everybody coming back. They've added 2 of the top tight ends in the country, a transfer from USC and a transfer from Oregon, who just fit what they want to do offensively to a T. I love LJ Martin at running back. I'm a little bit concerned about his health. That's the other thing. Like we don't know how these teams are going to hold up over the course of a season. And so it's super important to be looking at not just the starter, but the backups and who has the most depth. Who are the backup offensive linemen if a key guy goes down? Who has the depth on in their front 7 or in their secondary? And for BYU, I do think, on paper, their 2 deep looks really good. And then just playing Notre Dame is going to help them tremendously. If they're even in that game in any way, shape, or form, they're going to be an underdog. If they hang in that game, I just think the narrative and the perception of BYU starts to evolve and it changes. And all of a sudden, I think the College Football Playoff Committee looks at BYU in a very different light, and then ultimately looks at the teams that BYU plays and beats in the Big 12 in a very different light.
Yeah, back in the 70s when the Steelers ruled the NFL, and I know I'm going back 50 plus years, the Oilers were really good with Earl Campbell and company, and Bum Phillips was the head coach, but they couldn't beat Pittsburgh, even though there was a touchdown catch from Renfro that instant replay would have overturned, it would have scored. But he said that it's time for us to like basically break the door down. And I know that might be a little bit of a stretch, but that kind of reminds me of BYU and Sataki right now.
Yeah, the reference I would make to correlate that would be the Four Falls of Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills back in the 90s, kind of a similar storyline. I think with BYU, if they can't, knock that door down or whatever you want to call it this season, then I think that really starts to build for next year. But I don't know that they're quite there yet because, the way that the College Football Playoff Committee kind of framed BYU, I thought they should have been in the field last year, but there just weren't enough spots. And it didn't help that the last team in, Miami, made a deep run to the national championship game. So the College Football Playoff Committee can use that as an example as we still got it right by leaving BYU out. With that said, playing Notre Dame is going to help their strength of schedule tremendously. And then BYU needs to hope that Utah has a really strong season. They need to hope that a lot of these other games on their schedule end up being big games, not just at that point in time, but that those teams go on to have very successful seasons. The one thing I will say is I do see BYU getting a little more love nationally now than ever before, than they did preseason last year. Remember, the big story was Jake Retzloff is no longer part of the team. They're starting a true freshman quarterback who just got here. They'll be lucky to win 7 or 8 games. Well, now that narrative is no longer can they compete? It's can they break through and win a Big 12 championship? So I do think they're in a much better position than they were this time last year when they weren't sniffing anybody's preseason top 25. This year, they should be somewhere between, I would think, probably 12 and 20, whereas you're starting so much higher that if you take care of business, even if you do lose the Notre Dame game, by the end of the year, you should be a top 10 team.
Jimmy Rogers at Iowa State, Eric Morris, Oklahoma State, Colin Klein at K-State, and Morgan Scalley at Utah, the new faces we'll be seeing over the next couple of days. Which one of these intrigues you most, James? Not like picking a favorite child, but which one just kind of stands out to you? And it's just sort of what are your thoughts when you think of this new crop of head coaches in the Big 12?
Well, remember, Craig, I'm a Kansas State alum.
That's okay.
Proud
Yeah.
Wildcat. So definitely K-State and Colin Klein, but not only for that reason. You know, I'm really intrigued by each one of these guys who all have very different like track records and resumes and kind of how they got here and coaching styles. I mean, they are all so unique in that way. But our Big 12 Today consensus, like preseason poll that we put together, where we really dove in and debated teams and where they should be spotted, we had Kansas State as our major dark horse team. We had them fourth. You know, I mentioned their schedule earlier. It's really friendly. Somebody's going to have to go into Manhattan and upset K-State. They should be favored in just about every home game. The toughest game on their schedule is Houston at home. But then also just the what Colin Klein has done with the quarterback position has me really excited about the season that we could see from Avery Johnson. You know, Avery and Colin Klein just missed each other by one season. Avery's freshman year was Colin's first year at Texas A&M. But what he did at A&M with Marcel Reed, what he did overhauling that offense, still in a lot of, like, there's a lot of Bill Snyder traits within what he was running at Texas A&M, within the plays that he was designing and calling in his 1 year as a coordinator at Kansas State. So I think we're going to see a lot of that with K-State. And then they've just had a brutal offseason conditioning program, and I mean that in the best way. There are so many parallels in the way that he operates from a schedule, super detailed oriented. His practices are just on point, very much in the same way Bill Snyder ran his program when he was the coach at Kansas State. So, you know, I've got some questions about the back end of the defense, but I like what K-State's done in the portal on that side of the ball. Wendell Gregory's the headliner there, the transfer from Oklahoma State, who was the reigning Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year. But really with Avery and Joe Jackson and that offensive line, K-State, it's not Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma State's been kind of a flashy pick, a very trendy pick as being the dark horse team, but they've got a brutal schedule. They have to play at Tulsa to open. They should win that game, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. And then they play Oregon the next week. And then they get into Big 12 play, and they're going to have to learn to win on the road quickly. So I do think they'll be much better, but I'm not quite ready to say, hey, this is a team that's going to win 7, 8, 9 games in year one for Eric Morris.
How much would Houston be considered under the radar, but not a dark horse? Because they won 10 games last year, and Willie Fritz does nothing but win. I mentioned that earlier today on another segment that I was a part of, and I mean, they got the quarterback back and another year with him. They're not a dark horse. What would you consider them?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think you're right in that dark horse is not the appropriate label. I would say under the radar contender in the Big 12, because, you know, they went undefeated last year on the road. They won all 6 of their road games. First time that any Houston team has done that since like the mid-teens when they were dominating in the American Athletic Conference. They also have a top 7 portal class. Their net portal class is top 10 in the country. And that's according to On3's composite rankings, where they look at the guys you lost versus the guys you brought in. And then Phil Steele, the Phil Steele College Football Magazine, we were just talking with him this morning, and he said that, you know, there's not quite enough data yet because we're still pretty early on in this transfer portal. Everybody overhauls their roster every offseason era. But he did say that the signs are there and the data is there to support the teams that bring in the experienced transfers, even if they are FCS guys that are moving way up or guys that were at Group of 5 schools. Those are the transfers that so far are paying off. And Houston's entire portal class are guys that were All-Americans, guys that had ridiculous stats, albeit at lesser tiered programs. Several of those guys who Willie Fritz coached at Tulane, including their offensive lineman, Shadray Hurst, who's rated as the best player in the conference, according to EA Sports in that new college football game that just came out. Mekhi Hughes, the running back, who was an All-American at Tulane, and then kind of got in the doghouse early at Oregon and didn't see the field a ton. So I would say that they're kind of an under-the-radar contender, which if Houston does what we think they can do, if Texas Tech dominates like they did last year and their quarterback is good enough to get them by, and if BYU stays healthy, like those are 3 really, really good football teams in the Big 12 this season that I would stack up against just about anybody in terms of being deserving or talented enough to be a college football playoff team.
James, final thing. We're talking about some of the teams that we kind of expect to be near the top. Who is the team that you feel like you'd be eating the most crow about if they end up having a better than expected year?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Probably UCF. UCF is another team that a lot of people like as a dark horse in this conference to be, like a 6th or 7th place team. And I think Scott Frost is still a year away. They've brought in some experienced, like stopgap 1-year transfer type guys, but their passing defense, which is what everybody kind of hangs their hat on, the final numbers are very misleading in terms of the games they were actually competitive in and the games they weren't. They also had massive splits in terms of their passing defense when they were on the road getting crushed versus when they were at home hanging around in the bounce house. Alonzo Barnett is coming off an offseason surgery. I know that he's expected to be ready to go, and I've seen highlights of him practicing and throwing the football 70 yards in the air and all these incredible things, but that still just makes me a little bit nervous. And then their backup is an FCS transfer from like Florida A&M or somewhere where he wasn't even an all-league guy. Like, he barely had more touchdowns than interceptions. So I'm concerned about the quarterback position and their depth there. So UCF is probably the team that I think people are getting a little too excited about, that I will gladly eat some crow if they finish, top half of the conference.
Is there somebody you have not interviewed during the offseason that, like, we have Jimmy Rogers Wednesday. We have not been able to get him. We've gotten a lot of the coaches on, but is there anyone in particular that you look forward to interviewing if you get that chance?
Yeah, I think the only two guys that we missed during our Road to Arlington series was Dave Aranda at Baylor. I remember last year at Media Days, he was very conversational and was fantastic with us once we finally had a chance to sit down with him. But I do remember him saying, this is my deepest, most talented team. And last year was a letdown, certainly based off the preseason expectations. And then Coach Prime, last year at Media Days, he was going through all of his offseason health stuff that was kind of under the radar at that point in time. So I don't even think he was there last year. And if he was, it was just kind of a pop in and out. So we'll see if he's around. But those would be the two that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think, Craig, didn't you mention in one of your previews that Deion got up on the podium and he was there for 15, 20 minutes and then just basically disappeared? I thought I heard you say
last
that.
year.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah. Last year he did that.
Yeah. It'd be nice to talk with him. I've got something I've been through personally as far as my health that I think he and I could probably end up talking about that because of what he went through and maybe have a pretty good conversation about it. So, James, look forward to seeing you first thing tomorrow morning, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
James Wessling, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn with us. We'll have Will Parchment today at around 4:30 on the World Cup. By the way, Spain leading Portugal 1-0 in the elimination, obviously, in the round of 16. So Ronaldo's career could be coming to a close very, very quickly, like 5 or 6 minutes plus extra time on the clock. All right, when we come back, much more to get to, including the Big 12. And if you look at the first, second offense and defensive teams, we're going to throw out a name or two. How many of them do you recognize? We will also today hear from Rob Wright, who now covers Oklahoma State for Go Pokes. He's going to join us today at 5. Speaking of Deion Sanders, this is, I think this is one of the poll questions that maybe Andrew put up. I gave this to him last week. Craig, think about this and we'll come back and discuss it. Of the college players who have worn number 2, Cam Newton, Charles Woodson, Derrick Henry, Johnny Manziel, Deion Sanders. Put them in order. If you want to do that in the chat room, we'll write and read those off too. Cam Newton, Charles Woodson, Derrick Henry, and then also Johnny Manziel and Deion Sanders. Put them in order if you have time to do so. That would be great. We would appreciate it. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. North Star Funding Partners, one of our sponsors of Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, but also of this show and podcast every day. Have you heard of the new IRA, the Insured Retirement Advantage? The Insured Retirement Advantage is a smarter way to help you achieve your savings and also retirement goals, as it will help you do the following: create a supplemental tax-free income stream, maintain liquidity for other investments or business needs, protect your family, and in the long term, transfer wealth efficiently. It's a unique solution for clients who are financially strong, for example, making a minimum of $150,000 a year, but haven't yet achieved the savings and retirement goals that you need or set out to do. Call 623-256-6902. There's the number on the screen. And then also go to their website at northstarfundingpartners.com.
In the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Carr. You want a Richard Carr GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000. Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Spain has beaten Portugal 1-0 in the final. They just went like 95 minutes. Spain scoring late. And Ronaldo's career is over as far as World Cup competition, and Spain moves on with a 1-0 win from earlier. Now, and that means next on the clock, Belgium and the United States later on this evening. I asked this question. I know that Andrew may have used this as one of the polls from earlier today. This is college football players that wear the number 2. Bruce Feldman had the list out last week, I think it was, of the best numbers and players in the 90s. Number 2, Dion, Cam Newton, Charles Woodson, Derrick Henry, and we don't have room for 5 options on the poll, Johnny Manziel. who had that spectacular year. What was his junior year when he won the Heisman Trophy? A&M won at Alabama, and what a year it was. And then they won and beat Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Craig, how would you put them 1 through 5? And I have mine if you want me to go first.
Yeah, you go ahead and go first, because there's really, I can't put Deion's college career in my head with the rest of the guys because I didn't see any of it. I mean, I've read about it and everything, and I know what a great pro player he is, but Deion's a pro guy to me. I don't have any memory of him as a college player. So compared to these other four, I think strictly view these guys as, well, I mean, Henry and Woodson, Newton all had pretty good NFL careers, but I still vividly remember them playing college football. So Deion, I don't know how much I'm letting the NFL influence me when it comes to him, but I'd say Charles Woodson, Cam Newton, and then like with Johnny Manziel and Derrick Henry, it's like I don't even know if I'm doing best player, but just impact wise. I mean, Johnny Manziel, I feel like is just a phenomenon. So I'd have him over Henry, but I'm not saying he's a better player, if that makes sense. I just feel like impactfully, this is why these lists drive me crazy, is because it's like there's so many ways you can look at them.
No, you can look at them a lot of different ways, but you could look at it any way you want.
Yeah, which I haven't decided in the last 30 seconds or the commercial break, like which way to
let me give you Deion's history.
Yeah.
Let me give you Deion at Florida State, because a lot of times he was so dynamic as a multi-sport player professionally that a lot of times prime time with the Falcons, the 49ers, and then the Cowboys that overshadows everything else. Had 14 interceptions in his career at Florida State, was a two-time unanimous All-American cornerback in 87 and 88, was a third-team All-American his first year. He played in 3 different bowl games, managed to return 1 pick for 100 yards. He won the Jim Thorpe Award, was also, like Woodson, a great punt returner, although they didn't use him a lot to do that. But he also held the record at Florida State for the most punt return yards in a career. He helped seal a bowl game with a win. He did everything at Florida State. It wasn't as, I guess, the exposure, even though the Seminoles were really good, just not the same as he was in the NFL and then what he did in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I was 3 years old, so I don't really know. I know you can go back and watch on YouTube, but it's just not like the same as having watched the rest of these guys actually play full seasons for multiple years. So it's just, if we're doing NFL cornerbacks, all right, yeah, Deion, I have a good picture, but based on impact, I say Cam Newton's probably my number one. Based on what he did in a very short amount of time, but did everything you could do. National title, Heisman Trophy, best player in America without question, and just a massive output by Cam Newton. So I'd have no problem having him at number one. I think Woodson's got to be up there pretty high, obviously. So I think I'd have him right there as like a 1B or number 2. Going off impact, I mean, yeah, it'd be Deion or Johnny, but I think Johnny was a bigger college football star, certainly mainstream, because mainstream's just bigger now than it was in the late 1980s. And it was still even not what it all could have been, given that it happened a few years before social media. So imagine Johnny with full-blown Twitter. Although now I do feel like we're getting onto the other side of social media where we're still going to have it. It's still going to be around, and we're still going to like a lot of the benefits of it. But I do feel now it is so inundated with just like bots and garbage. It's like roaming through your junk folder in your email more and more every day. I just don't think it's anywhere near as cool as it was like a few years ago. And I know that we're probably hitting a corner here soon where it's never going to go away again. But I see signs from the younger generation. They're not going to be dependent upon it like the previous couple of generations to them are absolutely addicted, with no end in sight. I think the younger folks it's like people don't drink as much anymore, kind of similar to that. Like you see something and you're like, I don't know. I think that's going to be the social media for a lot of people moving forward. And like I said, it's just, so Johnny missed out on what point being could have been. You think it was crazy. Like imagine with even more TikTok and like Instagram at full power and all that. Like, oh my God.
He was right as that was starting to turn the corner.
That's what I mean. Like, he didn't get the full force of it, but he got some of it. So Johnny's just impact. I mean, he's just a memorable guy. And then I'd say, either him or Dion, but probably I'd lean Johnny, then Dion, I guess, and then Derrick Henry, who was really, really good. But I don't think of him in the same vein as I think of those other guys as far as individuals. And he was a great player, but Alabama had so many great players in that stretch of Saban that it's just kind of like who separates themselves. You know what I mean? If you're doing an NFL career attached to this, then yeah, that definitely aids Derrick Henry more than it would a Manziel for sure. But yeah, that would be mine. I think Newton, Woodson, Manziel, Dion, Henry probably is what I'd go with.
If you do impact based on what they meant, whether or not the stats were at this level, all of them were fantastic. I would think Cam Newton would be one. He came to Auburn and they won a damn national championship. Johnny Manziel arrived at A&M, and guess what? They didn't win a national title, but he did win the Heisman Trophy. Cam won it all, did everything. And taking away and separating, which is sometimes hard to do when you see these polls and when you see these who's going to be a part of a Hall of Fame, separating high school from college from the NFL. And I would think Cam probably would be one. I think Manziel would have to be two. Now, as far as better, no, Manziel was fantastic, but he wasn't better than Dion. He wasn't better than Cam Newton. He wasn't better than Charles Woodson. But as far as impact, Woodson, because of the uniqueness of winning the Heisman Trophy, winning part of a national title, did everything. So did Dion. And then Derrick Henry's just going to be kind of, like you said, he kind of left out, although he was a phenomenal player. And a lot of times people, well, yeah, but whoever gets the ball for Alabama is going to run for 1,500 yards.
Yeah, I think Alabama's had a lot of great players then and or during that 20-year run that Derrick Henry stands near the top of it. But I don't think he was like this one-of-a-kind, like individual player that you think of in the same vein as a Johnny Manziel, for example.
Won a national title, Heisman Trophy, Maxwell Award, Walter Camp Award, Doak Walker Award.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Unanimous All-American. And sometimes you just forget that because of all the other players before and after him. His last year in 15 was just crazy good.
Yeah, but he's just not, for me at least. I mean, for somebody in Tuscaloosa or wherever, then maybe Derrick Henry's the first guy they think of when they think of the best college football player they've ever seen. But he's not at all near the top of my personal names that I would like riff off. So yeah, I mean, Johnny, I would think of him. I would probably think of Charles Woodson at some point. I think of Tebow. I think of Tommy Frazier. I think of like all sorts of guys like that. Cam Newton, certainly. But I'd eventually get to Derrick Henry. It's just that, yeah, he was in a really talented group of Alabama players at a time where they had a ton of those guys for years on years on years. So he was unbelievable. But, yeah, he just doesn't stand out from the pack the way some of those other guys do.
All right, so I saw someone put the rankings at General Ursus. Dion, Derrick Henry, 1 and 2. Cam Newton, 3. Manziel, 4. Charles Woodson, 5. This is the Tennessee fan. It drives him nuts that Charles Woodson, he goes, he's a fraud. Peyton Manning was snubbed by the Heisman voters and General Ursus. I think once a week for the next years, we're going to just bring up Charles Woodson just to piss you off. We love you, man. But yeah, he's still fraud. He's still very frustrated about Peyton Manning not winning the Heisman Trophy, because Charles Woodson was a phenomenal player too. All right, when we come back, by the way, our coverage this week in Frisco at the Star, Alan Samuels, House of Travel, Camille Johnson Realtors, North Star Funding Partners, also American Bank, a new sponsor this week, Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Cam Heathcock, Brad Wilson. They've been on with us from day one. And then Home Place Interiors is a brand new sponsor for us this week. And you know, QC Kinetics, we talk about them, or I do, quite some time. Just around the corner, we'll have Will Parchman talking about the World Cup and include in that the win by Spain just now. Rez, let's get to the the Kirk Chrissy story. And this popped over the weekend and got overshadowed. But the former Arizona, he also was at West Virginia. Kirk Chrissy was arrested. Chrissa, was arrested. Yeah, Chrissa was arrested and extradited to West Virginia for being a part of a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme dating back to his time with the Mountaineers. This is another one of these, basically gambling type of situations. And spent the 23-24 season at West Virginia, transferred from Arizona, and he has been extradited to West Virginia. And yet another story where this young man's life has just been turned upside down.
Kirk Carissa, well-traveled. I mean, been on a different team for every year for the last handful of years now at this point, coach's kid. This is not a gambling thing, though. This is not even close to a gambling thing. This is straight-up fraud. This is him approaching families and concocting schemes and telling victim that he needed money to save his family's farm. He pretended to be a woman. This is not Brendan Sorsby or some random ass college basketball player shaving a game at Delta State like 10 years ago. This is like way more in depth than that. So $2.2 million fraud scheme, allegedly carried out a scheme to obtain nearly $2.2 million from multiple victims using false representations, fabricated identities, deceptive communications. Ran scheme for 4 years that involved convincing one victim to send him money by saying his mother had cancer and needed treatment. Posed as his mother in another scheme in which he said that he was trying to save the family's farm. Acted as a woman named Irene to have somebody sign a fraudulent promise to repay one of the victims $100,000 by a February deadline. I guess there's more to it than that, but that alone is, that's pretty nasty stuff. And I don't know how in the world you possibly get caught up in that. Maybe it is related to gambling and that you need to come up with money to cover it, I guess. But this isn't point shaving or anything like we've seen actually recently. So the government's seeking forfeiture of any proceeds traceable to the offenses, including a money judgment of $2.2 million. That's what it is. So what an absolute, innocent until proven guilty and whatnot, but what an absolute scumbag, piece of garbage, defrauding people, just the worst kind of person out there, and just betraying people's trust and scamming them for money. It's a dirtbag. So hopefully he gets his ass handed to him by the authorities and ends up serving some jail time. Garbage behavior. And I don't begin to understand how you even get caught up in that sort of thing. I know he dealt with a lot of injuries. He's played for like 25 teams in 6 years. That he's been like, we need age limits to get this dude out of college basketball. But I don't know. Maybe the injuries prevented you from making as much as you could have in NIL. Maybe it was the constant moving around. I don't know. But I feel like I've heard a lot about this guy, and it's mostly just been him bouncing around and now a criminal investigation. So at one point, I remember him also, I would have known him as a pretty solid basketball player, I guess. But I really, that's like the third, fourth thing that comes to mind now behind the transfers and now like $2 million in fraud. So, West Virginia luckily was not affected by that in any way. He was also at Cincinnati, so you can imagine what an offseason this could have been for them, given the Sorsby stuff. And then, fortunately, I don't think too much is linked to him from his time there last year. I know he missed a lot of time. But, thankfully for Cincinnati, this isn't a double whammy offseason of now you have people wondering about another guy that was on one of your teams getting involved in some nonsense. You pretend to say your mother had cancer to fraud people for money. You're just you're scum. So good luck to the authorities in pursuing and closing out their case with Kirk Carissa, and he's innocent until proven guilty. So if this all turns out to be some massive misunderstanding where somehow you decided this basketball player was involved in this 4-year thing, then I'll be the first to apologize to Kirk Carissa, but I don't feel like I'm going to probably have to do that.
The indictment noting that Carissa falsely represented the victim one, that he obtained the loan to repay her in 2022, even telling That same victim, he would sell organs, his organs, to repay them before allegedly posing as his mother, as you brought up the connection with what he did there, asking for money to pay for cancer treatment.
Yeah, so maybe this comes back to gambling because he needed money to pay off debts. I don't want to speculate too much. I don't know, but this isn't point shaving. Like I said, this isn't anything close to what the NCAA normally is caring about. This is like full-blown crime that the police handle. So, pretty damning evidence. I mean, fake personas and fake stories and fake emergencies and fake health scares and fake farm and whatever. Like, I don't know what the NIL payments were supposed to be like for you that didn't pan out or that you blew through or what. I don't know. But I'm glad to not be able to see this story and go, oh, I can see how you'd slip down that slope. I had no clue how you slipped down that slope. I don't even know how you get to that slope. So glad to not know that, and glad that this is being figured out and hopefully being prosecuted to the fullest extent.
I read a couple of notes about this, and I mentioned earlier about gambling that one of the concerns might have been that some of that early led to what he was trying to then do later, although that has not yet been proven, and in some cases that got a little bit out of whack. There are stories still there, but nothing off the table of him and point shaving and or gambling when he was in college basketball.
Yeah, gambling's a real danger. It is. Again, something else I'm thankful to never slip down that slope. Have my own vices, but not that. And there's a lot of warnings about it, but there's more encouraging you to do it than ever before. And look, it's not even gambling. It's predicting, which is just utter horse crap. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Lose a sponsor, whatever, I don't care. It's all the same thing, and they can call it something different and pretend it's something different. We know what prediction markets are. They are absolutely gambling, just under a different guise and under a branch right now that oversees that is allowing it to happen, even though they too know deep down exactly what it actually is. Maybe that changes with administrations or something. I don't know. But for the meantime, that's all in the up and up. So we get inundated with prediction market stuff. Like it's just download the app and it's no harm, no foul. And then you get all the regular gambling things that hit you over the top of the head. And so, I worry for our young people, but I worry for our older people. There's older people that
they're the ones
have gambling problems too.
I've read many a story about, you hear about somebody that gets a phone call, gets an email, and they're just naive. And by the time that anyone figures out what they may have done, they're being nice, they love people, they want to help, they're out $500,000.
Yeah, I'm talking about gambling, but you're talking about something different with just vulnerable old people on the phone. I'm talking about gambling that it's all ages, but I do worry mostly about our young people that just don't know any better, that they don't know it was taboo and they don't know how dangerous it is and how quickly your life can flip. But just ask Brendan Sorsby or whoever else. So not connecting these two, but at least it would make some sense of why Kirk Carissa is needing to go to these lengths to come up with fraud schemes to try and get millions of dollars would be to pay something back. And if not, he's just a dude out there being a criminal, then send his ass away for a long time. But what a out of nowhere story. And that's the end of his career, of whatever that looked like at this point anyways, I guess with most recently with Cincinnati. But that's not a good look at all.
All right, when we come back, Will Parchman, he is a World Cup FIFA soccer analyst. He'll join us here in just a little bit to look at Spain winning earlier against Portugal, the end of Ronaldo's career, the end of Neymar's career yesterday, and then also tonight's game with the United States and Belgium. And does any of what's been going on off the field with Balogun, does that have any kind of distraction ability or an adrenaline rush for either one of those teams tonight? This is 365 Sports, a new sponsor, Home Place Interiors, offering everything you need to dress up your home, from beautiful one-of-a-kind area rugs to custom window treatments. They can also help you put the finishing touches on any space. The owner, and of course they have others, for example, Stephanie, Selena, and Katie. But John Proctor's been a good friend of mine for a long, long time. We play golf quite a bit together. Talking about his business, it's like his 20 plus years now that he's owned Home Place Interiors. Home Place Interiors has been around a long time. Familiar faces with the new ownership now with Selena and Stephanie, but still John Proctor right there in the middle of the mix. It's always rug season. You want to dress up your home, your condo, or wherever you live, you can do that. They have the largest selection of area rugs in town in the Waco area. Stop by and check out their inventory or let them design a custom rug for your home. I was in their building last week, sat down with all of them, and then got a tour of where they are with the warehouse and also the beautiful Oriental rugs and more from Pakistan. They're gorgeous. Home Place Interiors can help you with all of the flooring and carpet needs you have. They have a vast selection of wood, tile, carpet, and vinyl plank flooring as well. The knowledgeable staff can help you out. 5-star reviews up and down their website, located at 523 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or go to homeplaceinteriorstx.com. Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
At Home Place Interiors, we elevate your space with elegance and class. We are the exclusive Sonoma tile dealer in Central Texas, bringing you the best in high-end floor coverings that transform your home with beauty and elegant design. Our white glove service and expert consultations ensure your vision becomes a reality as we take you step by step through the process. Call today to schedule your personal design consultation. Visit homeplaceinteriorstx.com. Home Place Interiors, crafting elegance, one room at a time.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
And again, a note that we'll be in Frisco the next couple of days at the Star, Cowboys headquarters for Big 12 Media Days. First thing, bright and early, both days, Tuesday and Wednesday, plus live when we're normally live between 3 o'clock and 5:30. Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak, 365 Sports, and a longtime friend. He was in the local newspaper business and was a huge soccer aficionado. Will Parchman, who's been a go-to analyst for us throughout the years, joins us now on 365 Sports. And Will, thank you very much. I just saw where Spain took out Portugal. Ronaldo's career is done. Thank you for your time and your thoughts about Spain advancing and Ronaldo's World Cup, I guess, career is over.
Hey guys, good to be with you. Just a note, I think your audio just dropped out on me there for just a little bit, so I'm not sure.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Why that is, but it's good to be with you anyway.
Yeah, you too. Well, your thoughts about Spain 1-0 beating Portugal and knocking out Ronaldo's career is in the World Cup is over.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just having a hard time hearing you.
Okay.
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. That's okay. It happens. It can be. We'll do this again tonight. Belgium and the United States. Spain just knocked out Portugal 1-0. Close game. We thought it was both teams very good, and Spain advances to the quarterfinal round.
Yeah, I think as the U.S. sort of projects out forward, that's not what you want to see as a U.S. fan. I mean, I think Spain and France have been sort of the two runaway favorites for me as far as playing style. I think Portugal is going to want to blunt Spain's attack. Spain, historically has been sort of that tiki-taka team that likes to pass it around, short passing, kind of work it up the field. And this team's a little bit different. I think that's a bit of a misnomer for this team. I think they have a little bit more verticality to them. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the U.S.'s side of the draw, and you don't want to get too far ahead of Belgium, obviously. But if the U.S. does make it to a final, they will certainly have earned it.
Well, what did you think of the big decision involving Balogun and the red card? And 1 minute he's not available to play, and then give it a couple days, and now, however it occurred, he's available to play. What does it mean, big picture? What are your thoughts on that reversal and just all that it? I guess just unpack it for us.
What's funny, coming from the land of the Big 12, there were some echoes in this to the Brendan Sorsby situation at Tech. Obviously, there's some massive differences too, but I think Tech was really caught flat-footed when that decision came through from the appeals court, and all of a sudden now they've got a quarterback that have perceivably eligible for the year, and they got to figure out what to do with it. So they obviously rallied the horses and went to his defense until they just couldn't hack it anymore. I get some of the sense that U.S. soccer is in that situation here where this is pretty unprecedented. I'm sure you've heard that word bandied around quite a bit this week, but certainly with the way that this came down, I think because this has not happened before in this way, certainly at a World Cup, I think the U.S. is like, well, great, but now you're on the receiving end of a whole lot of vitriol globally. I think FIFA's put themselves in a tough spot. There's no question, if you go back and look at that red card, it's not a red card. It is a yellow card. There's no intent to injure. Certainly, if you look at Lionel Messi, had almost the same exact foul early in the tournament. He didn't get a yellow card. Of course, that's the Messi effect there in action, but yellow card was the right call. So if you look at it from that perspective, U.S. soccer certainly has a shout to say, justice has been served, right? At least in terms of the punishment fitting the crime. The problem is that the mechanisms that FIFA used to get to that decision have not existed as such previously. So I think what FIFA has done is they backed themselves into a corner. So what FIFA now has to do is to essentially codify the sort of back of napkin rule that they've now put into place to say, okay, Balogun can go essentially from a red to a yellow. I mean, it's not even a yellow at this point. It's been suspended entirely. But if Balogun can do that, you saw England now has appealed one of their players' cards. I think France has appealed one of their players' cards. And so now it's sort of, this is like a normal Tuesday in college football. But now in FIFA, it's like, well, do the rules even apply? And so the U.S. is sort of caught in the middle of all that. I think FIFA can go back retroactively and say, okay, well, now we can actually look at some of these things in hindsight. It's not just the U.S. It's not just Balogun. Maybe we can suspend some of these that are perceivably unjust and let some of these players ride. The unfortunate bit for the U.S. is the distraction literally on the day of the biggest game that they've had in quite a while. And so, obviously they're going to put out all of the platitudes about we're shutting out the noise and we're just focused on the game. But on a stage like this, I mean, there is zero question that this has infiltrated the locker room. Of course, there's questions about, well, if they lose, it's a lot of egg on your face. If you win, people are sort of looking askance at you. And that's tough because this has been such a magical run for the U.S. and you hate for anything to mar it. But for me as an American, I don't really care if they get through. I'm happy no matter what.
Let me ask you this, Will. It seems like it's been just a phenomenal tournament. The stars are scoring, whether it's Messi or Mbappe or Kane or whoever else is a part of that. There's been dramatic, and you get that in soccer. More teams were a part of it this year. Banger games like Mexico last night in that game with Germany. Has this been
England?
I keep saying Germany, England and Mexico. Has this been, or is this just recency bias about as good a World Cup as you could remember?
It's great, and certainly for us, it's great because it's in our time zones, and so that's another thing that is sort of a primary concern too. Is you think about South Korea in 2002. I mean, those games were at 4 a.m. I mean, even the European tournaments, a lot of those games are early mornings or overnight. So you just have like these diehards staying up, and everybody else finds out about it, on the news. And so the fact that these are on prime time slots for a tournament that's as global as this, I think has added even more emphasis to it because everybody's watching pretty much all of these games. I mean, I'm sure workplace productivity nationwide has dropped precipitously over the last month, just as people are tuning in at these 2, 3, 4 p.m. games. And so that's certainly part of it. But yeah, I mean, the games have been phenomenal. You got Cabo Verde, who sort of captured the imagination of the world, really, with their that stunning goal against Argentina and just barely scraped out the win. And so certainly you've had some teams not show, but I think for the most part, it's not like the NCAA tournament where people are worried, you're just going to add 96 teams and you've got, all these crazy blowouts in the first round. Soccer's a little bit different in that way, in the sense of the expansion to 48. I think people looked at it sideways, like, here's a cash grab. But again, on a global stage like this, it's more of a showcase than anything. And I think having these teams through has really added a lot of dynamism to the tournament that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And, of course, having it here in the U.S., you see all the, Instagram, all these, folks from overseas coming through and like having Waffle House at 2 a.m. in Auburn, Alabama, and just loving it and all these things. It's been a great showcase. And I think hopefully there's still some more fireworks in store now that the U.S. is the last CONCACAF team alive.
What kind of strides do you feel like the U.S. has made, especially going back? I mean, it feels like for years we've been hearing like it's the next big thing. It's the next big thing if they ever can get their ducks in a row and this, that, and the other. And we know there's problems, like a lot of guys who would be great soccer players are playing football or whatever the case may be. But where do you think the U.S. finds itself here in 2026? And will that depend somewhat on the win or loss versus Belgium and how far they find themselves going in this tournament?
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of to jump off that question, because if you go back to 2014, the U.S. played Belgium in a World Cup round of 16 knockout game. That game was the start of Belgium's quote unquote golden generation, where they had Eden Hazard and some of the guys that are in their mid 30s now on this team that are phasing out. Kevin De Bruyne, some of those guys, they were just hitting their stride. In the U.S., you go back and watch Tim Howard stand on his head. I think he had like 14 or 15 saves in that game. That Belgium ended up just having to scrape out a win over the U.S. And at that time, it felt like, okay, well, maybe we're starting to hit on something here, to where Belgium's a legacy European club, soccer nation. Maybe we're starting to scratch the surface. We've had some false starts since then. Obviously didn't qualify in 2018. 2022 was okay. But I go back to the generation that we have now that's come through, led by Christian Pulisic, some of these guys like Malik Tillman, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, this group that's now in their mid-20s. I covered these kids when they were literally 12, 13 years old, coming up through the U.S. youth national team. And you could see the level of skill. Again, we will always have running for days. We'll always have endurance. We've got athleticism. But the actual skill, the actual ability to break someone down in a one-on-one, which is, something in, you look at basketball or football. I mean, this is ingrained in our sporting DNA. It's really not been in soccer. And you're starting to see that the creativity, the expressiveness. This team really plays with a flow, with a grace, I think, that we've not seen before. The 2002 team, obviously almost broke through with a semifinal appearance, and that team did pretty well, but that was not sustainable. And I think what you're seeing now, if you watch this team play, there is a level of fluidity to it that you wouldn't have associated with American soccer in the past. We have very much been, to borrow a British term, hammer and tongs soccer, where we just try to beat you down. We go over top. We try to outrun you. We try to nick a goal here or there. It's not been pretty. And I think we look better than some European clubs, honestly. I mean, you look at how we broke down Paraguay, and then you look at how France struggled with Paraguay. I mean, we scored 4 goals. France had 1 penalty, and France is the best team in the tournament. So there is something there in the groundwater. Now, the key is then expressing that on a big stage. I think teams tend to clam up. Soccer is very much an organism, like a soccer game. It's a push and pull, and so they're going to have to play fluid on this very restrictive stage. But I feel great about it. I mean, I think at worst, I think it's a 50-50 game. Now that you got Balogun, it's maybe 55-45. I think the U.S. has talent edges at more positions than not, believe it or not. So I'm really looking forward to it.
How much does Belgium, with Balogun now being available, because it's been a few days since they played, it's been a few days since the United States won as well. How much of Balogun being inserted yesterday affects their preparation, or they have plenty of time? They know he's really, really good.
Yeah, it's enormous. I mean, he's obviously been practicing with the team anyway. And so from a U.S. perspective, not a whole lot will change. They would have most likely started Ricardo Pepi in his place. And that would have actually been, in my opinion, a fairly big blow for the U.S. because Pepi does not fit this play style quite as well. With Balogun, he'll drop in. He's a runner. You'll see him kind of run at guys. Pepe's more of a set piece, like classical number 9 striker. Well, he'll just sit up close to the goal and try to poach goals. That's not really the type of soccer this team wants to play. And so I was really personally nervous that this team was gonna show as they could with Pepi. And so I think now what you're gonna have to see with the Belgian back four, and certainly the defensive midfield, is that they're going to have to account for, you've got Pulisic running off the edge. You've got Malik Tillman, who's maybe the most skillful player on the team, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Think Clint Dempsey 2.0, trying to find pockets of space and embarrass people. And now you've got Balogun back, who can beat you in a foot race, but is also just so predatory in the final 18. And so it really is a team that can score in a variety of different ways. And I think one of the reasons why you've seen Belgium be so vociferously against this move, it's not just because they think that the integrity of the game has been breached, it's because they don't want to face Balogun. And so I understand why he's a phenomenal player.
Will, if I know we still got plenty of teams alive, but if you had to push your chips in the middle on somebody today, do you feel confident? Like, is there a team that stands out to you in that way?
I think it still has to be France. I mean, I think the way that they play, the level of skill that they have through the midfield, and then you've got Mbappe and Dembele, coming at you from the edges. I don't know how you stop that. I mean, certainly the only way that Paraguay was able to slow them down was to basically employ, to use a basketball term, Dylan Brooks, SGA level flopping, and just try to appeal to the refs as much as possible. I mean, they were trying to scuff up the penalty spot when Mbappe was taking a penalty. They're diving, and it kind of worked. I mean, it certainly disrupted France's play, but that's, I mean, short of essentially an act of heaven, which they were trying to bring down, you're not really stopping that attack. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Spain, France. I think those have been the two kind of smoothest teams at this tournament so far. But, with this tournament, you've seen all kinds of craziness. I thought for sure that Mexico was going to pip England last night. A phenomenal game, certainly next to the Cabo Verde Argentina game, the game of the tournament so far. And so, the U.S. certainly has the why not us mentality. They won't be favored in any game beyond this one, if they even are on the odds. I haven't looked at the odds for this one, but they've got an extremely difficult road to go. But but yeah, I mean, I think certainly France is still the team to beat.
Norway with a win yesterday. Holland with a monster game. He's like a beast. He's like, what was the name of the guy that eventually took out in one of the Rocky movies, the Russian figure that was I can't
Drago,
think. Yeah, he's like Drago, except not mean. It doesn't appear to be for the World Cup. He is a freak. There's a picture of him sitting at some cowboy hat place with boots on and the Cowboys. He's embraced everything. How good is he right now, Will?
Oh, he's the best pure striker in the world. I mean, I don't think there's any question. I think the only reason people don't call him the best overall player is just because he is such a forward man. I mean, there are better maybe all around players, but if you want one person to put in the final third to score a goal of anyone on earth right now, you're taking Erling Haaland. And certainly, I mean, I would encourage anyone who wants to maybe plug some gaps in their knowledge is just go pull up some of his highlights from Manchester City. I mean, he is a freak of nature. He scores in all kinds of different ways. Certainly his size is maybe his biggest trait, just in the sense that you can't stop him. But then, you saw his second goal in their last game. I mean, he hit that thing from maybe 22, 24 yards away from goal and just tucked it inside the far post. And the level of skill, I mean, I know you see it on TV and you think, wow, that's really good. But the level of skill it takes in traffic at that stage in the game against a Brazil team that was really pressing is unreal. And so, it's interesting. It's sort of the old Vikings versus, Angles and Saxons thing with England coming through. And I think England will have more answers defensively than Brazil did. And England should win that game. But when you have Holland in the final third coming up with ideas, and, Norway certainly has been bossing midfields all tournament. He's appointment viewing, and definitely, like I said, I mean, keep watching him after the World Cup because he does this type of stuff all the time.
Craig, anything else? All right, so I'm not very good about pop culture. I've been told that, and I admit that I'm not. So I was talking to my daughter, Craig's sister, Jennifer, yesterday about Holland, and she mentioned that he was like a Game of Thrones character. Is it Daemon? Is that who it is?
Yeah, he looks like Daemon Targaryen, yeah.
Yep, that's who she brought up. She goes, that guy looks like he could have been in Game of Thrones, and he's got that kind of aura about him. Well, Messi, Mbappe, Haaland, Ronaldo, Kane, among others, all of them have had a big tournament. Now, Ronaldo's gone. But it is amazing how many have scored what seemed like more goals than normal, because soccer can be also frustrating to watch at times. Is there something that has increased the scoring this World Cup?
I think you've seen the weather has been great. Some have complained. I think Miami is maybe the only uncomfortable place. And, certainly there have been some like low 80s days in San Francisco and maybe some other places. But you've got air-conditioned stadiums. I mean, these things seem very normal to us. Air-conditioned stadiums in Europe don't exist really. I mean, there's a few around. I mean, I think Wembley and maybe some others, even though I'm not even sure Wembley is. Maybe some of the new stadiums, but like a handful. And so they are subject to the elements no matter where they go. And so the fact that they're now in, perfectly air-conditioned 72-degree stadiums in a lot of places, and in others they're in, Boston where it's 75, 80 degrees or whatever at game time, that has really aided to it. I think people maybe underrate weather in soccer sometimes because it is so much running. And by, the end of the second half, you're usually seeing guys, certainly in MLS where they play through the summer, the second half of those games are really dragging. But the fact that they've been playing in these sort of palaces, I think you've heard players say it too, where the playing surfaces have been great. The environments have been phenomenal. That's another thing that we've heard, is that the fan support has been great. We were nervous at first because it's like $4 million to go to one of these games, but they've packed these stadiums, and apparently the crowds have been phenomenal, which eggs players on as well. And of course you get these players around each other. I mean, these teams don't play together all the time, and so you get a international back line just 4 guys that play, or 5 guys that play all at different clubs. So their communication isn't as good. So maybe they may switch off at a certain point, or somebody rotates in a way that they weren't expecting, and it leads to a goal or a gap. So that, again, it all kind of contributes. I mean, I think usually you will get a little bit higher scoring World Cups, but this one in particular, not just with the goals themselves, but the timing of the goals. You've had a lot of late winners, a lot of phenomenal goals at crazy times, and I think that's just aided the fact that it's been a well-run tournament. I mean, there really has not been a whole lot of issues from a strategic standpoint or an operation standpoint that's limited the quality of play, and I think it's really helped promote the game on these shores. And my hope is that MLS will take the baton from that and really run with it in a way that really started the league here in 1994, the last time we had the World Cup.
Will, thank you. Appreciate your knowledge and the experience. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of the World Cup.
All right, it's good to be with you guys. Thanks.
Will Parchman with us, soccer aficionado. World Cup tonight, United States, Belgium. Spain won earlier today with a final of 1-0. One of the stories, Rez, I don't know if you got that text that I just sent you or not, but let's go to the one with Chris Vanini about Cape Verde, who might still be the story of the entire World Cup. Yes, some of the star players have been phenomenal, but they took Argentina to the very end in their last match before getting knocked out. Cape Verde with a small population, and you could almost not even see them on any kind of a map or any kind of globe. But this is from Front Office Sports. Cape Verde goaltender Vazenza, Instagram following count before his first World Cup match and after the team's run. There should be a secondary part of that. He had 46,000 followers. That number at the bottom has gone up to somewhere near 24 million on his Instagram. Josimar Diaz has been and was spectacular, a 40-year-old goalkeeper. And I saw where maybe has already signed with somebody in Miami to play for the club down there.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. It's a lot of followers to get in a short amount of time. I think you added an extra Z in Vazinha, but that's Vazinha. But I think it's his nickname, and it's been cool to get to know some of these guys. And clearly he made a big impression because he's seen a massive jump, and he himself's only followed like 11 more people, he's posted 11 times. He's following less people actually now than he was, and has gained. That's incredible. He's like Freddie from Germany, who shut his account down on Twitter, at least because he, I guess, just had enough of it. But that's pretty the power of the World Cup, that's for sure.
So he's a 40-year-old, unbelievably athletic, was phenomenal against Argentina. The goal that tied that game up at 2-2 from the left side was, and I'm not going to act like I know what the certain parts of the pitch and all that, was incredible. The amount of space or room for that, a laser goal. And then eventually Argentina did to win. And you could just feel people on edge, one, because of the Cape Verde story, but also because it could have been Messi's last World Cup. But Argentina survives to move on. Chris Vanini, who's a college football writer for theathletic.com, had this note while this was going on. There are people in charge of college sports who don't want things like Cape Verde to happen. And he's right, but he just threw it up there as that game was winding down.
Yeah, I mean, I see what point he was trying to make. There would be a lot of podcasters out there saying that they care about Cape Verde, even though the proof is that they've spent like 1 10-minute segment on Cape Verde over the last 6 months, but they interviewed the coach for 15 minutes. So, No, we cover Cape Verde. Yeah, I see a lot of that, and people just chalk that up to the algorithm. They're not trying to pretend that it's fair and balanced. They're trying to just get the most eyeballs and talk about the most popular teams. And we choose to take a different route, probably to our own detriment a lot of the time. But we would talk about Cape Verde. That's for sure. And look, there's other smaller schools that we don't get to that you need D2 podcasts to cover to get all the proper coverage that those schools deserve. But yeah, there would be a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon. Like, oh, remember we had their coach on one time 2 years ago. We talk about Cape Verde. Yeah, I can actually hear that as if it actually happened in my head. So, yeah, he's got a great point there.
Yeah, that's why when we're in the middle of football season or not, I like to reach out to North Dakota State. Of course, they've bounced all the way up to the top now, among others.
And I'm just talking about the media in general.
Yeah.
Like, and I like a lot of media. So, but I've just seen that now where it's like, hey, why don't you talk about so-and-so? Oh, well, because the algorithm. But can't you just talk about them anyways because you like care? Well, and that's when they're perplexed because they don't care. That's the other problem. The algorithm's a good excuse. The real problem is they don't care to talk about Iowa State. So, yeah, there's a lot of that. And, hey, it's also if your goal is just to make money, then, yeah, you talk about Ohio State and Texas ad nauseum, and it works for you. But, yeah, there is that comparison that can be drawn. And, yeah, if there was a committee in charge, Cape Verde would be fighting to have any spot whatsoever if they even were to have gotten a spot if it was up to the TV executives. So, yeah, there's some cool things that come from just having to earn your way. And that's what Cape Verde did, and they got a big spotlight because of it, and they got the big opportunities, and they took somewhat advantage of that. Not full advantage, because full advantage would be still playing right now, but I think they made the most of their World Cup, and they're better off for it. So it's great to see that for countries big and small.
I saw it was either Front Office Sports or Wall Street Journal that mentioned how many millions and millions of dollars that will be now infused into Cape Verde, into the soccer program there because of the run that they made. When we come back, Scott Wright covers Oklahoma State for GoPokes.com. He'll discuss, well, we mentioned earlier the preseason honors that players receive. We'll discuss that with Scott, plus his thoughts about Eric Morris and the Cowboys as it's the eve of the Big 12 and Media Days. And this is 365 Sports. Joint pain can be a problem. Joint pain can be annoying. It can hurt. It can feel like it's never going away, like a massive migraine headache somewhere in your joints, whether it's your hip, like it was for me for years. Maybe it's somewhere in your spine or your shoulders or your elbows or your wrist or your knees, and I can go on and on. And now you've hit the dog days of summer. It's hot outside. And so, man, you'd like to be more active, but you just don't feel good. I tried to remain active for 4.5 to 5 years when I had this absolutely just fed up with a pain in my hip. I did not work out like I had done before. I felt like I was losing momentum. In fact, I didn't have any momentum. I still played golf, but it wasn't always easy. I couldn't play as well as I wanted because I couldn't hit the ball and swing the way I wanted the golf club. And then I met QC Kinetics and had a free consultation with them back in September. And here we are now, almost not quite a year later, and I feel really good. I ran 2 miles this morning. I played golf on Saturday and also on Sunday, but I didn't have any after exercise or golf pain. There was no reason for me to use any kind of pain cream or ointment. It feels good to feel good. If you are in that mode of where you cannot get over some sort of a pain, some sort of just constant nagging pain, tugging, pulling in one of your joints, contact QC Kinetics. Here are the phone numbers in both Dallas and in Houston. In Dallas at 972-972-8610. In Houston at 713-913-5285. They use regenerative treatments done right in their office from your body, your blood, plasma, platelets, stem cells. They take what is inside of your body, they draw blood, spin it, and then they put it back inside of you. I've done 4 treatments, and I can't tell you how much I've said it for a long time. I feel fantastic. And not just if I'm playing golf or if I'm jogging or working out, just feel better because there's not that pain in my hip. QC Kinetics in Dallas and Houston. Before you go anywhere else, anytime you hear thoughts about a procedure or surgery, contact QC Kinetics for a free consultation in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Allen Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues and those sort of things. Because of the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. And so I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
We're back, 365 Sports, the Smoak Show on 365 Sports YouTube. We'll be at Big 12 Media Days tomorrow. Scott Wright, now a part of Go Pokes, part of the Oklahoman for a long, long time. I saw the note with him late last week, and he joins us now on the show and the podcast 365 Sports. Scott, thank you very much. Congratulations on the move. I know you've been a part of the Oklahoman and did a great job. You've been on with us many, many times before as well. Just a nice change of pace for you.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting. A little bit different. It's kind of all the same and all different at the same time. Being the Oklahoma State beat writer at both places, but definitely a new philosophy, new strategy, and just a different outlook on how you do everything at a place like 24/7 GoPokes.com. So it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it.
Oklahoma State has been miserable for the last couple of years. You know that. Gundy. The Cowboys haven't won a conference game. It's been bad. There's the change. Morris comes in, has a lot of players he's bringing with him. What's the feeling right now in Stillwater? Is it an adrenaline rush or is it expectations? What is it?
I would say both of those things for sure. There is a lot of just natural excitement about where this program is right now, based on what Eric Morris has done in his career, what they did at North Texas last year, all of these guys that are coming in. Obviously Drew Mestemaker named Newcomer of the Year in the media poll for the Big 12 today. Wyatt Young makes a first-team receiver spot. So, Caleb Hawkins, running back, has already gotten some preseason All-American attention. So the excitement level feel about the offense in particular, but the team as the program as a whole is really high right now. And then you look at just you mentioned the emotions of the last 2 years and how hard it was, and 4 wins over 2 seasons and haven't won a conference game since 2023 when they went and played for the Big 12 title. So it's just it's been a crazy roller coaster, and the just settling in and getting to kind of embrace what this program is going to be under Eric Morris is a very welcome feeling in Stillwater.
Scott, just from your personal perspective of covering the program, how different is it from talking to the same guy there in Mike Gundy for, forever and ever?
It's completely different. It's been so wild, for somebody who, you cover Gundy enough and you on a certain level, at least most of the time, know what to expect. You know what questions he's not going to answer, what he's going to just give you coach speak. There are always the times when he's still a little bit of a gunslinger even at the end, and you might get a wild and crazy answer off something you didn't expect it from. But for the most part, you kind of had a feel for, for instance, don't waste your time asking him about specific players in spring, because he's just going to talk about generics and the position group as a whole, and all those we got to get better typical coach speak stuff. But Eric Morris comes in the first day of spring and he's breaking down passes that Drew Messmaker threw on the first day of spring ball, and not even in pads yet, and we're like, okay, this is a different world that we are living in now. We got to talk to assistant coaches in spring. We hadn't talked to a non-coordinator assistant coach since the last practice that OSU had before COVID hit in March of 2020. Wow. Under Gundy. That was the last time I had talked to a non-coordinator assistant coach. And we talked to every position coach throughout spring at some point, one time or another. And so it is a very different vibe in terms of how it feels trying to cover this program. And that's going to allow us to give more information, tell better stories, and really get inside this program a little bit better than we have in a while.
Robert, Scott, excuse me. The Messmaker is the Big 12 preseason newcomer of the year. That is not a surprise. There might be 1 or 2 other guys that could be a part of that, but there's no doubt that makes sense. What, in your opinion, based on what he did at North Texas, can he just duplicate that, even though the competition's not like it's going to be going to the NFL or anything, but can he just duplicate it, you think, with the Morris the Morris offensive scheme?
To an extent, yes, I think so. Obviously, there are going to be more challenges. There are going to be, different defensive looks, and people are going to have different ways of trying to defend this scheme. But for the most part, I think a lot of what they do is going to be able to be executed because of the talent that they have at the skill positions. Wyatt Young is on that first team All Big 12 preseason team today, but I'm not convinced that he's necessarily even going to be the best receiver on this team. I really like Justin Bowick as a big guy on the outside. Chris Barnes is just an electric player. He's a small guy, but can do a lot. And so you look at the weapons that Messmaker has to work with. I mentioned Caleb Hawkins at running back. As long as the offensive line can hold up long enough to give him the protection that he needs and open some lanes for the running game, I think this offense can absolutely look similar to what they did at North Texas a year ago. Now, I don't know if he's going to go lead the nation in passing yards and put up the kind of points that they did, but I definitely think that a lot of what they did can be replicated.
So, Scott, when it comes to Oklahoma State talk this offseason, of the 100% of the talk, like at least 97 is about Eric Morris and the offense. Where does the defense come into the picture here, you feel like?
Yeah, that's one of those that those questions are just not going to be answered until this unit gets on the field and you actually see what they do. Skylar Cassidy, I think, is a really talented young defensive coordinator. He's been a guy that's been on the rise and is, at 32, I think, ready for this opportunity. That said, with less is known about what they've got in terms of talent on the defensive side of the ball. They didn't have the established scheme like Morris had on offense, where you could just bring guys in and plug and play. He's having to build a little bit more. I would say that their defensive line, particularly defensive tackle, is an area of concern because they didn't really score as highly in the transfer portal as they probably wanted to at that position. Defensive end, they're really strong. Linebacker, they're really strong. Feels like the back end is certainly capable of being pretty good back there. They've got a lot of guys. It's just a matter of figuring out who the best guys are. So you look at what they've got, and there's some reason for optimism, but you just don't know right now what they're going to be able to do when they line up and have to go against a Big 12 offense. So it's a wait and see approach on that side. And obviously when you're the defense on opposite an offense that scores fast, it can be really tough anyway, because you're getting back on the field so quick. You go and get a stop, and then your offense scores in a minute and a half, and boom, you're right back out on the field, and you got to use that depth and take advantage of those things. So we'll see what they can do when they get on the field and start getting into Big 12 play. But there is at least reason for optimism, but there are a lot of question marks on the defensive side.
What is it like when it comes to the ticket sales, to getting money? Obviously, T-Boone was there for a long time, and what they've done to try to continue to update and make sure that T-Boone's Pickens, that stadium, remains as intimidating as it's been, no matter what's happened the last couple of years. What's it like from that perspective with donors and boosters?
It has been good. I would say better on the donor side of things than maybe even the ticket sales side of things. I think back to 2024, which was obviously the start of the crumble for Mike Gundy. But that was a team that was coming off of having played for the Big 12 title. And you had Ollie Gordon coming back off his Doak Walker winning season, and all of this excitement around that team. And ticket sales went crazy that year. They haven't quite matched that type of excitement in ticket sales, but they've landed some big money donors that have been able to help this program and really elevate the what they're able to do with revenue sharing and NIL to make some of these things happen. Like we saw, the $7.5 million contract for Drew Mestamaker for over 2 years, things like that I don't know that this program would have been able to do a year ago. So they've had an influx of some money that has really helped, and I think that the ticket sales are going to catch up eventually, especially if they get to September still feeling the way that people feel about this program right now.
So Scott, not to put like a figure out there, because man, it's year one. I don't want to start doing he needs to win 6 or else it's way too premature for that. But what do you feel is like kind of a baseline you have in your head as far as what would constitute a good step forward for the program this year?
6 is kind of a number that you sort of float out there in that conversation. I think you start talking about getting back to a bowl game and kind of setting the foundation for what you're going to be. I think that's a good number for a good expectation for this program. But you look at their schedule, you look at what the Big 12 is right now, and I could probably make an argument and be pretty convincing that this could be a 9-win team. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. You've got a schedule that outside of a non-conference game against Oregon in Stillwater, that's really feels like pretty much go ahead and mark that down as an L right now. Mm-hmm. You look at the early Big 12 schedule, they've got a chance to build some momentum, go win some games on the road, and then you get into late October and November when the schedule gets really tough. Maybe they're in a position that they're playing at least some meaningful football in November, and that's going to be a welcome sight in Stillwater.
Hey man, congratulations! Good to see you. Good to hear from you. We'll see you soon. And are you going to be in Frisco? You said you were on your way down, I think, even this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm sitting in the lobby of my hotel right now, so
right,
I'll be hanging around for the next couple of days. I'll catch up with you guys.
We'll see you then. Scott Wright, GoPokes.com, has covered Oklahoma sports for a long, long time, and now does it for 247 and CBS. And they're going to be intriguing. It could be one of those where they just need. Are they going to get enough stops? Going to score maybe a lot of points. Doesn't mean that just transitions immediately, but are they going to have enough to get enough stops to maybe even have to score 40 points or so per game, and it may not be enough?
Yeah, I mean, I said 97% of the conversation this offseason has been about either the coach or the new players, and that might have been lowballing it, actually. It might be more like 98.5 is about Mestamaker and Young and Hawkins and North Texas guys and Eric Morris. Very little said about the defense, the lines. So yeah, that'll be the X factor for them. But I definitely think it's a year to embrace and be excited again. And you've had a lot of success under Gundy, but it clearly just wasn't worth the partnership lasting to keep going in the direction that they were going in. It was just bad football, bad recruiting, bad feelings, so on and so forth. And so I think that they made the move that was the right move to make when they made it last year. Hopefully Gundy's doing well. I'm sure hanging out on his ranch or whatever he's been up to. But I think, yeah, that was a move that needed to be made. 2 years without a Big 12 win, even though he wasn't coaching for all of last year. Still, though, it's just hard to believe Oklahoma State would have reached that point, especially just a couple years removed from Big 12 title contention. It's amazing how quickly they just fell off the map. And that's not a program that needs to be off the map. That's a program that even in their down years needs to be at least middle of the pack in the Big 12. Certainly never getting blanked in conference play in 1 year, much less back-to-back years. So they fell hard and fast, but I think Eric Morris is a great hire. As I've said from day one, I think the players they got, you couldn't have picked a better selection of the North Texas guys to get. They got all the guys you would want. And I think they're going to be much improved offensively. But, yeah, there's other question marks that they have out there like every other team does for the most part. I think the offense alone, regardless of what the defense looks like, will at worst have them in shootouts, and on occasion they'll win some of those. So there's definitely more wins coming. I don't have an idea in mind. I'm probably more pessimistic than some who have them winning like 9 games right away because they're just so high on Morris. I'm high on him, but I'm like not that high on him right now. If they do that, though, I think that obviously would bode very well for the future if he can just hit the ground running in that way. But, yeah, I'm at least expecting a bowl berth, and I think if they got at least to that point, that would be a massive and much-needed step forward to get them back on track.
I was looking at our lads. They have the depth charts, and they're not completely – obviously, coaches, some have – released that, and especially when you get to these media days. But on ourlads.com, it's got NFL depth charts and all the college depth charts. 23 of 27 on their almost just plus 2 deep are newcomers in some way. 21 of 30 on defense, and 14 out of 16 when it comes to special teams, kickers, punters, return men, long snappers, short snappers, whatever. That is a massive amount, and very similar. Remember, we had the president of Texas State last week to talk about G.J. Kinney actually had more players transfer in when he took over there than Deion did at Colorado his first year. They got so much attention. That is a ton, and what you do hope is that you have at least some sort of cohesion. Talent, yes. Talent upgrade, yes, but also the ability to make the transition without it just being dysfunctional.
I don't know. I'm kind of just not all that interested in the overwhelming roster flip and is this okay, is this not okay conversation any longer. I think it depends on the coach. I think the coach ultimately decides that. If you can recruit well, then it's probably good to flip the roster. I don't think it's probably healthy to do it every single year like Deion's attempting to do, even though he holds on to some pieces. It's mostly a flip. Rich Rod now 2 years running at West Virginia is overhauling both years. I don't know how sustainable that is. I also don't think it's the end of the world like when Deion was first doing it and everybody was clutching their pearls about it. I think you see plenty of programs that can build cohesion just fine in one offseason. They don't need 6-year seniors to lead the way anymore, or you just go recruit veteran leaders and you try to, I guess, get them acclimated as quickly as possible. But, yeah, I think if you can coach, you can coach, and it's not a matter of how steady your roster is from year to year. And when you're over in Big 12 play 2 years in a row, who wants any players off those teams? Like, why would you want to bring a bunch of those guys? They haven't won they're 18 in Big 12 play in 2 years. Why would you want anybody from that group unless they were a true freshman that flashed and they were blocked out otherwise, and now they're ready to be a difference maker. So, yeah, I'm just not – when we first started getting all these returning production and all that, I think it was a big kind of talking point. But the deeper we've gotten into this thing, I think it matters if you are a really good team that's bringing a lot back. I think if you're a really bad team that's bringing a lot back, obviously that's probably not going to bode well unless they're all freshmen and true sophomores. You can kind of look at things that way and say, okay, yeah, I'm not sure that's great, but all the rest of these teams that are just flipping year to year, I mean, it's impossible to tell whether it's going to work or not. And I have every reason to believe it's going to work more than it's not going to work for Eric Morris this year.
As I mentioned back early on when I was much younger and I started doing some previews in television, I'd go to various schools and teams that were coming off of state championships or really, really good traditions. But every once in a while, you'd look at somebody and they'd say, we have 8 players coming back on offense and they have 8 players coming back on defense, and they were 1-9. And yeah, it could have been youth. It could have been lack of talent. It could be the fact that there's a lot of guys coming back of 1-9 that aren't very good. And that's why when you look at, like Dave Campbell's does a great job with that magazine. They do the returning letterman and all that, returning starters, but you got to dig deeper into that.
I think with Oklahoma State,
numbers.
Oklahoma State didn't have good players. Like I don't think they were recruiting very well. I don't think that they were landing the types of players that Oklahoma State should be landing. And I think that caught up to them to the point where you're losing at Tulsa at home and you're getting Mike Gundy fired.
And losing to Tulsa at home, where some describe it, that Tulsa was more talented.
They were more talented.
Yeah.
They were more talented. Like that was very clear in watching that game. And I watched part of it, but I listened to it and you could tell, hell, the Oklahoma State broadcast crew was saying as much throughout the game. I vividly remember driving to my hometown and listen, and that just happened to be the night where that game was on. And yeah, I mean, Robert Allen and all those guys, yeah, they're like, the thing about this guy is that Tulsa's like not just kicking our ass, but they like look better doing it. They got better players. Their players look more muscular. Their players look faster. And like, yeah, that was the damning thing for Gundy, was they just weren't anywhere close to the level of talent where an Oklahoma State should find themselves. So I think they've upgraded there and the skill positions in particular, and that'll bode well. They'll win more games this year. There's no doubt in my mind. If like there's one thing take to the bank this year, outside of just the most obvious things like Ohio State will win 9 games or more kind of thing. I'd say there's no way I see Oklahoma State not being drastically better than they were the last 2 years.
Yeah,
drastically better.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think Gundy got bored, got frustrated, also got stubborn, and just basically, I'm not saying he mailed it in because, well, I don't know. Maybe he did.
I think he mailed it in to some degree in recruiting, clearly.
Yeah.
And the NIL piece, I mean, I don't have expert knowledge on how all that worked, but I mean, explain the lack of talent on the roster if you were really good at doing that stuff. And if you're really good at it, then that means you just weren't doing it. And you just chose not to do it, a la Dabo. And fortunately for Dabo, he's got a couple national titles, and people weren't sick of him just to the point to push him out of town. And I think he's slowly evolving and adapting. But for Gundy, I think he's just kind of was at that point where he's like, well, I'm the guy, and if you don't like it, kick rocks. And it's like, okay, well, we don't like it, so you're going to kick rocks.
Right.
And we're done with this now. So we'll go get a guy who's hungry and young and is going to hit the portal hard and is going to have talented players and is going to seemingly care. And yeah, I think you had to wonder about Gundy and his care factor a little bit there at the end. So yeah, I don't know what his future holds. Gundy, we haven't heard much at all about him. I imagine he's running around, driving around on a tractor or something, but I'm excited to see what Eric Morris does.
I saw him. There was something over the weekend. I just happened to see his feed where he was doing something for somebody, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, there's a speed limit sign. And you know me, when it comes to suggestions on the speed limit, Rez, pop that one up. They were doing a test, and there's the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And when you drive by, you've seen these a lot, and it may say 35 or 41, and sometimes it starts flashing at you if you're going too fast. And then the high score, somebody was 58, like it was a damn... like trying to hire the better. I just thought that was kind of funny, but that's me. Also, let's go to a super chat. And the super chat today is from Alex Armstead. Thoughts on West Virginia being a dark horse team in the Big 12 under head coach Rich Rodriguez? I don't look at them. If they were to win, it would be obviously a surprise dark horse if they were to win a lot. But yeah, I would think they're a dark horse because I don't think many people say they're going to or feel like they're going to compete for the Big 12 title.
No, they're definitely a dark horse candidate to win the Big 12. They'd be right there with a UCF, with Oklahoma State, quite frankly, with those kind of teams. I think behind a grouping of like K-State and teams like that, sort of in the middle. So yeah, I think they're being kind of projected lower half, but I think that it'll all really depend on just how sort of the lines click. That'll be a big part of this. How well they can protect for their weapons offensively. I mean, how good is Michael Hawkins? And how good potentially is a pairing of Scotty Fox Jr. and Michael Hawkins. I think Cam Cook was a really good pickup. I think so long as Jaden Bray can be healthy, then he could potentially be a pretty good player for it. Like, there's some pieces that I like for West Virginia, but they've really got to answer the trenches, and that we won't know until showtime, obviously. But I still believe in Rich Rod. I think the fandom certainly feels as though they're optimistic, and I think we're also entering a year where you kind of need to see something, even though it feels like he just got back. It's one of those things where you flip the roster almost entirely 2 years in a row. We can't go in the next offseason after winning 4 games and it's like, all right, well, this time we're just going to flip the roster again. Okay, no, you've done that twice already. Like, we got to, like, what are we building here? I think is the big question. And I think they've got some elements to start building with this year. And so, yeah, I can see a scenario where that offense is super dynamic. The dual quarterbacks, Cam Cook, some of the weapons they have. I mentioned like Jaden Bray, for example. But there's some question marks about them. I'm actually probably in my little preview I did for them, I almost thought maybe too high on them, not like Big 12 championship contender, but I do have them more in the upper half than I do in the lower half.
Old Barncat saying that we need to do our wins and losses. Craig's done it like 4 times on this show, and I know he does it on 365 Sports YouTube as well. But I'll do that. I'll go over the game by game, pick a winner, this and that, and see where it stands, and end up probably having 2 or 3 teams who I have in the last 5 that will be in the mix, and 1 or 2 at the top who will end up being like major disappointments. That's the American way when it comes to the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, I've got where do I have West Virginia? Okay, I know that's not right. I've got them like about in the middle. I do have them in the postseason. I've got them above. Well, I guess you should check it out. But, I mean, they're not in Big 12 title contention. They are in a bowl game. They are not anywhere close to the bottom of the conference. They are firmly in the middle, which would be a step or 2 forward for Rich Rod. And I think some of the games I'd have them winning, finishing around like a 7-5, not counting bowls, because I didn't go that deep into it. I said, obviously 6 or more, you're in a bowl, but I didn't get into like what bowl and all that, because that's too crazy. But I think they'd be solidly in and would have a great opportunity to go play a 13th game and maybe win 8 games potentially. So that's kind of where I am with West Virginia.
And the predictions for Craig on West Virginia specifically, 365 Sports in the chat room just put it up. There's a link to that. So you can go to 365 Sports on YouTube, YT, YouTube, 365 Sports, and you'll see a slew of videos from Craig on different teams and also the Big 12 in general.
Yeah, so I think for West Virginia, definitely thanks, Alex, for the super chat. Higher on them heading into this year. And it'll be harder to maintain that in another offseason if they don't show market improvement. But I'm expecting it. I know the fan base is expecting it. I know Rich Rod's expecting it to some degree. I know the money's been getting put in the right places, hopefully. And the talent acquisitions have obviously you've had some big ones like Cam Cook or Michael Hawkins. I don't want to make too much of Michael Hawkins, though, having seen him at Oklahoma. Like, he's not like the end-all, be-all necessarily, but I do think he's a little bit untapped potential. So there's some good things there to like.
Man, that debut, I don't know if it was debut, but that game against Texas, of course, was a nightmare playing against a team like that. And now a different offense. We'll see what he does with a full offseason under Rich Rod. All right, here, what we did, we got the wheel, we got the quizzes, we got the polls, but we did the super chats. We've done everything else. By the way, Rez and Garrett, Logan, Andrew, all, and even Houston, who will be with us, all of them in Frisco tomorrow in the next 2 days. Appreciate their time. Let's spin the wheel.
watch something on a CRT television? And Smokey, did you ever own a TV with an antenna or dials on it?
What is a CRT television?
It's like the old box TVs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the old tube TVs. And yes, there were times when you'd get up, black and white TV, you'd walk up to the TV and you'd have and there's like 5 channels. So yes, and the antennas on top. And sometimes you had to move them and to try to get the fuzzy to clear up. Yes, on all of the above when it comes to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I did own one as well, and I used it, and kind of just my generation, I guess, caught the tail end of stuff like that. Yeah, the last time I used something like that, I have no idea, no earthly idea when the last time I saw a CRTV in person anywhere for that matter.
Rabbit ears is what Paxton put in the chat. You're exactly right. That was a challenge. There are now you because of what happened when it went to the antennas, like for example, oh my God, I forgot the name of it, but yeah, there's still people that use it. I have a neighbor above me. She has a satellite dish that's on my deck, pointed up at wherever she's getting her stuff to get that. But I had all of that. It was man, those TVs were fantastic, and they weighed about 250 pounds, and they were steel, and you had like 3 or 4 channels. Okay, so there we are with that. Good one, Andrew. Thank you very much. So there we are. Let's get to the quizzes. We got to go 2-0 to close out this Monday show on 365 Sports. July 6th, 1933, Comiskey Park in Chicago. Which legendary slugger hit the first home run in Major League Baseball All-Star Game history?
No earthly idea on 1933 All-Star Game history.
If you're going to use the term slugger, then you wouldn't use Lefty Gomez, who I think was a pitcher. I don't think you'd use Frankie Frisch either. So it's going to be Gehrig or Ruth. Both legendary.
Yeah, I don't have a good feel either way. I mean, Babe Ruth's more of the home run hitter. But yeah, I don't have any earthly idea on the actual breakdown here.
I'm going to say Babe Ruth.
All right. There you go.
I mean, Gehrig was a phenomenal player, hit a lot of home runs, RBIs, Hall of Famer too. The original Midsummer Classic in 1933 meant to be a one-time exhibition for Chicago's World Fair. In the bottom of the third, 38-year-old Babe Ruth, and that was the thing I had to think about, was the ages of when they retired. Launched a legendary 2-run homer into the right field stands to give the American League a 3-0 lead, and they held on to win it 4-2. The game was such a hit with fans that it became an annual tradition. And, of course, the All-Star Game is just around the corner. 86 responses, 47 got that right, and 53 had other answers. Probably would have been Gehrig. All right, 1-0. Let's get to the second poll question. Following his recent June 2026 extension, Patrick Mahomes became the first player in NFL history to cross what milestone contract value? And I want to think it's $500 million.
Yeah, I think it's 500. I mean, it could very well be 525, but I definitely think it's at minimum the 500 mark. I remember seeing something like that. 525. Yeah, I mean, that might just be we're missing somebody that had like 515 or something along those lines. So I'm fine with 500.
It is 500.
Yeah.
I think
you looked it up.
No. I'm looking at Lefty Gomez, making sure he was a left-handed pitcher. I knew that.
No, I know he's got 500. I'm just saying I don't know if it was 525 million was what I'm saying. So yeah, I'll go with 500.
With the term threshold or milestone, I think it was passing 500 million, and we'll say 500 million. There it is.
Building on his original 10-year, $450 million deal from 2020, the Chiefs added a 2-year extension in June 26 to push Mahomes' total contract value to a record-breaking $504.75 million. First NFL player to clear the $500 million mark on a single contract, securing him in Kansas City through 2033 with a record $64 million annual average salary. So pretty incredible.
$504.75 million. So we get 2-0 today on the quizzes. Craig, Smokey 2-0. Let's get to the poll results. Who is the definitive greatest player, college football player, to wear number 2, and Deion almost, not a landslide, but a very overwhelming lead here over Charles Woodson, then Cam Newton and Johnny Football.
Yeah, like I said at the start of the show, I don't have a memory of Deion, the college player. I was not old enough, so I know what I've seen on YouTube over the years. I know he was one of the greatest of all time, but just can't put him in the same perspective as the other three. But not surprised to see him win and going away. I think there's probably some element of taking pro careers into this as well, because I don't know that he was that clearly much better than all these guys, but maybe he was. Maybe he was. Like I said, too old for me, but certainly understand the greatness of Deion, and don't think twice about him being on top of this list.
All right, no question. Deion, I would have probably thought Cam Newton would be too, but Woodson, we just discussed this, is maybe the best player of the 1990s in college football. So that's one poll result. Let's go to the next one. Who wins the blockbuster round of 16 tonight? The United States in regulation, Belgium in regulation. The U.S. survives extra time and penalty kicks in Belgium. Belgium stuns the United States with extra time with penalty kicks. And the United States, 67% of 432 votes.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand the outcry over just the decision making with Balogun. I get where the Belgians, and for that matter, every other team in the world other than the U.S. is coming from, I think. But screw them. I'm going to say USA wins in 90 and go with the majority of folks here. I hope they stay alive, because I do think that them exiting, even though we see them play like once a week, will take some of the fun out of it. I think the fact that they've been alive and Mexico's been alive has added to this recent round. So now the Mexicans have bowed out, and hopefully the Americans can continue to represent for North America for a little while longer, because it does keep it a bit more interesting having the home teams hanging, especially this particular home team for all us Americans. So yeah, go Team USA.
All right, so that's tonight, and we will wrap it up. Rez, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be broadcasting live from the Star in Frisco, Big 12 Media Days. We will be able to record interviews during the morning and early afternoon, and we'll be live. In fact, Rich Clark, who's the executive director of the College Football Playoff, he'll join us early on tomorrow. We'll have Joey McGuire and many others. We know that for sure. For Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak, and for our great group, including Andrew, Logan, and Garrett Ross, and Houston and Rez, good night. This is 365 Sports.